Thanks for tuning in, everyone. For those of you who are listening, you're obviously very loyal, and we do appreciate that. During our hiatus, we're back for episode 10, and as a big surprise for y'all, it's going to be a giant-sized episode. So, I'm Mario.
I'm Rick.
I'm Michael.
And this is Guy Thing Podcast, and without further ado, let's just get it on.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay.
So, Saved by the Bell movie.
Saved by the Bell movie.
You're
yes.
in.
It's gonna suck because right now they just did that thing where they were gonna make the Aaliyah movie, and there was such a backlash about them making it and the chick who's supposed to play her that the chick backed out of the movie now. Like she doesn't want to do it. And it's like Lifetime. Lifetime sucks, right? Like they make like shitty like. Low budget, like
come on,
rip
man.
off of
Lifetime's amazing.
It's bad. It's bad. It's almost
horrible.
as bad as Wait, that's the Oprah one, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I've never seen either one of them, but yeah, I don't know about the Saved by the Bell thing. Like, it's
okay,
just,
fine.
Wait,
how about
Lifetime,
Girl Meets World?
They should do like a Showtime series about Saved by the Bell. You know what I mean? That way you get
A series?
quality
Like a
actors. That's my big
documentary
thing. Is like
series?
having a budget, some quality actors. And I realize that's weird because the people they're portraying.
What do you think?
But-
What do you think Mario Lopez's big demands were behind the scenes?
Weights.
And he only wants to wear tank tops or ugly
15-year-olds.
sweaters.
Do you think he had creative control and he chose to wear?
he was
Do
15.
you think he had
It's okay.
creative control and he chose to wear those wrestling outfits?
Absolutely. Was it the one where his dongs? No, it wasn't the one with the.
It really wasn't much of a dong.
No.
It was
When
more
they
of a-
when they did the dance episode and he rips off the fucking he rips off his like tearaway pants
To reveal
and
the leotard?
He's doing the ballerina shit
Yeah.
to get. Oh, it wasn't the dance episode. It was like the one where they're trying to get their girlfriends back, and he pulls off his shit and then his dick's like poking through his thing. And you're right. It's not a big dick. It's like a little. It's like a fucking marble.
Right.
So They should definitely approach all that and have like those discussions like backstage where they're like, "Hey Mario, this is what you're gonna have to wear," and he's like, "No, fuck that. Like, makes my dick look small." And they'll be like, "Okay," and there's a big like an actual thing where they get a prop master to come out and he's like, "Okay, here's a fucking gumball, here's a fucking billiard ball," and it's like they're using different
Here's a
like
sock
here's double
with another
socks,
sock.
here's quadruple socks. Like, what do you want to do? Here's a salami, and they have to like his agent has to come in. And they got to be like, "Okay, like we'll definitely go with." Kielbasa, cheese, full of cheese. Can't be over 7 inches because we don't want to get too ridiculous. It's got to be comfortable because he's a method actor, so he's gonna wear the thing the whole fucking episode. He's gonna,
All day,
we're gonna
actually.
need a
That meat is going to cook.
we're gonna need a like a artificial urethra because he's really got it. When he pisses, he's got to piss for real. When he shoots his load, he's got to
through
shoot
that.
Yeah,
Through the
he's got to be
sausage,
real.
through the
So we're
kielbasa.
actually gonna run like an actual
Catheter.
like catheter into his real dick through the sausage. So this has to be just comfortable enough so that it can feel like a real dick because. He's a 15-year-old kid. It's Bayside. He has blue balls.
So if there's any
You know he has
arousal
blue balls
issues, it
because
happens
Jesse
with the
Spano
sausage attached.
Huh?
If there's any arousal issue, it happens with the sausage attached.
Yeah.
But the sausage doesn't get to react.
Yeah, it's weird. So it's like it ends up
It's a
looking
weight
like,
holding you down.
No, it ends up looking like remember those toys where you push the bottom and it makes the fucking like the dog
Flop
dance or
around.
whatever. So it's like that. It's like it gets hard and then it goes and it's always like the whole time it's just like fluctuating.
They're Mexican
a
toys,
fluctuating dick. Huh?
right? Mexican toys, right?
Yeah, exactly. So my point is that's the kind of shit you got to show in the background.
So wait. Oh! Since none of you can see what's going on, Rick's Bud Light just bubbled up all over him, and he...
It's appropriate though where it landed. What happens when you talk about Mario Lopez?
He comes back to get you, reaching beyond the grave.
He's still alive. He's good to go, man. He's good to go.
This is the wrestling episode. Oh, they're dead too. Oh man,
I did read a thing recently. I don't think it was that. Was it the Chuck Klosterman thing? I don't read his stuff, but I came across it like Wikipedia, so it might have been referencing his thing. But it was one of the theories about the show where they were talking about how all of it's fake. That Zach Morris is actually the entire show is in his head. That he's still in where is it? Ohio or Indiana? Where the
Right.
Good Morning
He's
Miss
in the
Bliss?
Matrix.
Maybe. If that's Indiana, then yes. Because like
Indiana's
in
the
original,
Matrix.
like in Good Morning Miss Bliss, they
Memento.
were in Indiana in a different school,
Mhm.
and he wasn't as cool. And he got picked on by the older kids. Those kids like trick him into joining their cool club, and it's all a big joke, and they make fun of him, and he loses all his friends, and it's really sad. So they're saying that
That would have
like
been more interesting.
he invented Pacific Palisades and Bayside because there's no reason like inexplicably show up one day and living in California when they were actually in Indiana, and he's got new friends who he's supposedly known his whole life. This whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're gonna fuck around and be like, let's make a Saved by the Bell movie, like, do it like that, dude. Like, just
Donnie
blow,
Darko
yeah,
style.
like blow people's mind. And I would do like stunt casting, like people I hate. I'd be like, we're gonna get a fucking Shia LaBeouf to play Zach Morris, like now, like all drugged up and fucked up, like Lindsay Lohan's Kelly Kapowski. Like it's gonna be weird, like that, like weird. We're gonna get like, and then you go backwards. You're gonna be like, for the Tories. You're going to get the Olsen sisters to play Tori. But then there's scenes where it's actually both of them. You know? That's what I'm saying. That would be a fucking winner.
Wow.
Netflix original series. Give me a call. Give me a call, Netflix. We'll take care of it.
So have you got
He's got it all figured
Boy
out.
Meets
He's got it
World
written out.
all mapped out too?
No.
The new-
Have you
the-
seen
God,
the new
I never
one?
watched any
I
of that.
haven't.
I haven't. Has it already come out?
I think so.
As parents, I thought you guys would be excited about that. Like,
I don't.
You know, like
Dylan watches Bubble Guppies.
Bubble Guppies.
Yeah.
I don't know what
He
that
watches animated films. He doesn't. We put
How
on
do-
live
how do
action
ki-
TV,
is it-
and he's like,
do kids know they're watching cartoons because it's like colorful and it bounces
Yeah.
around? Like it's so you could
He can tell. Like he can tell that what's for him and what's not for him.
okay. So up to a certain age, you
We put
could,
on How I Met Your Mother, and he's like,
but like not that you would hypothetically if you had a practice baby.
as an ex-psych student, that would be awesome.
Like say you put on like I mean just an example like Family Guy or like The Simpsons where it's colorful and there's lots of stuff happening. There's animals. Would he know the difference?
Probably not.
So he would be just as
He would think
entertained
that
by
he's
like
yeah, exactly. He wouldn't understand. I mean, I doubt he understands in a whole lot anyway. I mean, he's a year and a half, but I mean, I think he would still be like, "Oh, it's a cartoon. It's for me."
But so like I don't know anything about kids, obviously. So like kids start talking around when they're like 2 or 3. When do they
It
start
depends
talking?
on what you call talking. I mean, he says about 10 words.
Communicating, like
Well, I
food, whatever.
He knew baby sign language a long time ago, so
Okay, so like
but he wasn't. But he still doesn't know how to say the word food. But he, makes the sign for it.
He's very gifted.
He's not that gifted.
but what can he say?
Slams his head into things,
What? No, that's normal.
and then we're like, "Oh, don't worry, he'll stop because it hurts." And then he does it again. And we're like, "Apparently, this isn't
It's
working."
like the kid in Parenthood who puts the bucket on his head.
Yes.
Like at least he's using a bucket.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Huh. I wonder. It's like that's what I'm saying. Interesting. Like if you were like not you, but if somebody
yeah, practice,
was
baby.
like probably the Nazis, they probably tried stuff like let's give a kid a beer. Like let's give it's they probably do worse
They
shit
probably
than that.
yeah. Oh,
But you know
well.
what I'm saying? People that have no scruples, that would be like, let's subject like a 2-year-old to like watching something horrible, right? Like Clockwork
Yeah.
Orange style. Like and then like
Yeah.
see what happens. And I'm not condoning it,
No, God no.
but
with
you know
a
what I'm saying?
practice
Like,
child.
with a practice child, that's a hypothetical. Like what you can do is once there's like cyborg kids and stuff. You could buy a cyborg kid, and that's your practice kid.
AI
Michael,
or what?
Michael, make it. You're a computer guy.
What?
So we come up with like a
Build a robot
cyborg
kid.
android, right?
AI.
And it's like an android kid,
Haley
like
Joel
the kid,
Osment.
yeah, like that kid. And that's your practice
Get
kid.
him a teddy bear.
So say like a year when you start thinking about like I think we're ready to have a kid, you buy the practice kid, right? And it ends up being like affordable because you do financing on it, and it's like a lease. As long as you don't break it or like drop them off a building, it's fine.
Wow, Mario.
Is that a delete?
I didn't hear it. I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyway, so you get the robot, right? And then that's the thing that you practice with. Like, oh, this is how you learn how to, like, carry the baby. And this is how you learn how to whatever, right? Do whatever with the baby. And then once you're ready, like, you already have, like, figured out how to feed it and how to do this and how to do that and how to, like, whatever it is you need to do. And then when you're done with it, you trade it in and they, like, erase the memory, give it to somebody else. And then you realize, like, yeah, I'm ready. Or after that year, you're like, no, I'm not ready to have a kid. It was too much work. Like the robot kid. I don't know. Is AI like that? What's the deal with AI?
No, yeah, it's not like that.
Pretty much,
Never
you
seen
just
this
summed
movie.
up AI.
Yeah, that was a
It
spoiler
sounds
alert
like a
for
Steven
everybody.
Spielberg movie.
So who's got World Cup fever?
Oh God, no,
All right.
no.
He made an Eric Clapton joke. I'm just pointing that out. You missed it.
I did.
It was mean.
What?
The Eric Clapton joke.
What was the Eric Clapton?
Oh, you missed it. Even though you said it, you missed it.
But he missed it, apparently. He doesn't even know the joke he made. It's a conspiracy, Michael.
Oh, man. And speaking of conspiracies, Mario, have you ever encountered a UFO? I'm totally kidding.
No,
Don't
well, we
talk
can.
about that.
I'm like, we can totally dive
it.
in. No, fuck it. Like, when I was a kid, my parents used to get me into the car at 2 o'clock in the morning because there was a strange light, and we'd follow it for like an hour driving around town. Like, there's the light. It's not a plane. It's not a helicopter. It's not blinking. You know, it's a solid, bright light. And we would follow it.
Where did you experience this at?
Like, God, all, like, I don't know. I can remember as far back when I was maybe 6, 7. Started happening, where we'd check out stuff like that. And then it got really crazy when we started watching X-Files. Of course, that added to it.
So you think that happens? Like, you start to watch spooky stuff, or
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and
if
then
you're looking for something, you find it, you know? It's a subconscious. That's your mind brings it to the forefront.
Have you ever wondered if at least one movie in the history of movies has accidentally stumbled on the correct conspiracy just in their
hell
fanatical
yes.
writing?
Yes.
Well, that was like a conspiracy within a conspiracy about X-Files, right? Like, they had said, like, oh, Chris Carter was a CIA agent, and it's a disinformation campaign. Like, in order you make you
Hide in
Make
plain
it-
sight.
yeah, you push it so far into public consciousness that people like believe that it's fake because it's popular and they talk about it, and it's so intricate that you're like, that could never be real because, you know, otherwise it's right there in front of you. So there's that.
Yeah.
So it's possible. It's possible. So earlier we were talking about, like, we're dancing around the idea of conspiracies that we're talking about,
Yeah.
conspiracies and stuff. But let's jump on this quick because you already said you were too grown up for that.
Oh.
I'm putting words in your mouth. You said you were
Yeah,
too
you
grown up for
technically
it,
he didn't say that.
and people that like conspiracies are losers.
I'll vouch for you, Mike.
Yeah,
he didn't really say
Mario, you did say that.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that. He wouldn't, because then he would offend me and I'd cry. So what do you feel about conspiracies?
What he did say was that he would be completely honest about his opinion about
Right,
conspiracies.
no, that's what I'm asking for.
Well,
And that's fine.
Bring one up, and I'll tell you what I think.
What's your favorite?
JFK. That's not my favorite. I just first thing that came to mind, JFK.
So
That's
which version?
So my first biggest issue is I don't feel like I ever truly know enough factual stuff. Like, I have literally sat and read an incredible amount of information and even book stuff on like JFK, for example. But I feel like it gives me no greater insight into what I actually think, other than just basically throwing dice around. You're basically just throwing the crapshoot. It's like, you know, do you believe in aliens? Well, I mean, do we have any proof? Is there any existence, or is it counterculturally cool to say, yeah, of course they're out there? And so it's the same thing like with JFK. It's like, you know, everybody that's been out there at the place says, you know, you look at it and the way the facts are presented, it just looks impossible. Like, that could never have happened. That specific shot just wasn't possible. And so my bigger question is always like, let's say it is, then tell me why. If it is a conspiracy, I don't think that it's improbable that things could be covered up and that things have happened and were presented to us in a way that isn't true. That would be naive. I'm just saying, and I completely am aware of the fact that a lot of stuff is covered up for the greater good and spun a certain way. Mm-hmm. But in that case, then I think I'm more interested in the why than the what.
Well, what's the leading theory? Is it because of the Jack Ruby ties? It's mafia related. That the Kennedys were talking about the mafia wanting to squash him, and that's why they got Robert later on.
Well, I mean, I think the main thing is, like, it's either the one person did it on their own, and it was just crazy, like Lee Harvey
Oswald,
that guy, or that it was one of their many enemies, which is easy enough. And like you're saying, like, that's a perfect example. You say, well, if somebody, you know, is a famous enough person, a controversial enough person, and the type of person whose personal dealings generally evoke enemies, which is like having mistresses and dealing with the mob or whatever other, like, side things that like JFK
Political
had.
stuff.
So obviously, political stuff. I mean, even just straight and narrow
Straight
stuff.
up,
Like you're gonna make enemies. So it's like easy to say like, well, he had connections to the mob, so the mob killed him. He pissed him off. Or it was the like the Bay of Pigs guys that got screwed over. It's like the Cuban, the revolutionaries came after him or whatever. Or what are the other ones? That he was a sacrifice of the Illuminati. There's that one.
Or that Magneto was trying to save him because he's a mutant.
There's that.
And see, I've
Spoiler alert.
those conspiracies feel more believable, like the fact that Kennedy authorized our launch to the moon so we could investigate the Transformer ship that landed there.
That's more believable to you. Anything with Michael Bay obviously has a lot
You
more
said
weight
Bay of
to
Pigs.
it. Not Michael Bay of Pigs. That's pretty good. That's probably what he calls his
Sex dungeon.
swimming pool. He likes
With actual
he
pigs.
he likes big girls. He's like,
He
come
likes-
on down to the Bay of Pigs. Have a barbecue.
He likes like Red Dragon, I guess, right?
Swimming pool full of Jello.
Oh, wait. Sure, you can use my telephone. Is that precious?
Okay, so take any of those leads, I guess. So are any of those believable in your mind?
Yeah. Would you consider yourself a skeptic when it comes to at least outlandish conspiracies? Whatever outlandish.
Am I a skeptic that there's a conspiracy, or am I just more like fall in line American citizen that, it just happened the way the news presented it?
I wouldn't say that. Like you just believe everything they
Which
tell
version
you.
of skeptic are you
I'm
guys?
saying
I don't think you're a sheep, I think.
skeptical in the sense that like if someone gives you something that has no proof that you can't prove, are you immediately like, oh, there's no proof, so I'm not interested? That's what I mean.
No, I'm not a skeptic. I like listening to that stuff. I really do find it fascinating. I want to give myself, the understanding of why. Why is there so much free time to think about this stuff? Because really, what am I after? What am I? Just the amount of time you have to have on your hands to spin this stuff. It's just sort of okay. Let's say that's the case. Let's say we've never been to the moon, and it's just a big TV show, right? Because there's those people,
Because that's
right?
more complicated than actually
The
going
shadow
to the
is
moon,
wrong.
probably, right?
Yeah,
Right.
all that.
So let's say that that's the case in the NASA space program. Again, why? Why would that
what
be
ends?
the case? Because at the end of the day, if it was revealed that it was all true, that we never went to the moon, I still got to go to work. I still got to go do everything. The
No,
world
you're
isn't
right.
the
But you
world
gotta-
isn't upturned. Everything
Because-
keeps going on. The stock market
that's-
doesn't crash
why
if that
do they
gets revealed.
pretend?
Well, you got to put yourself in that time, though. Because it was us against the Russians, and it was the space race, and it was the Cold War, and it was we have to do something because Russia's had more time in orbit than the Americans have, and they've done it in an extremely short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to do something grand, and that's where the moon came in.
Okay.
So that's why.
But
There's the
but
why.
it still goes to the same thing, because if you were a kid in 1962, right, whenever it was that they went to space, if there's a real
This is
space,
really bad.
if you believe in
I'm-
the space,
I'm gonna look it up.
if you believe in the space, but
Inner
like
space.
again, like if you were a kid outside of going, that's amazing, like you said, how does that change if the next day they were like, oh, just kidding, that didn't happen? Outside of maybe jading you about changing your perspective about whatever, like you said, how would it really change the world? Even back then when that was a big deal, like if you were to like ask, somebody in your family that was alive during that time, right? Whatever, ask them and say, oh, like, you got to experience that on TV, or you heard it on the news or on the radio or whatever it was people had back then.
Wow, we were way off. 1969. What the fuck?
He wasn't even alive.
I know. That's what I'm. Wait, yeah, I thought
That's when they went to the moon,
JFK.
not into space.
Oh well, yeah, but no, he wanted JFK. specifically
JFK
said-
went to space. They didn't kill him. He was the first man on the moon.
Well, I thought that was Elvis
Now you're getting crazy.
and Hitler,
Now you,
or as one of my ex bosses said, "No, Grandpa's still alive." Whoa.
that's pretty good. Have you seen Iron Sky?
No.
It's on Netflix.
Iron
They have
Sky.
Iron Sky Director's Cut. It's like one of these really low budget, like almost like fucking cardboard spaceship type shit. Not
Oh,
quite
wow.
that bad. It's still pretty good for however little they made it.
Yeah.
But it's like this thing where it's in the future, and the Nazis had put
Oh
up.
yes, I did see it.
Right?
Yes.
That's not a bad. I mean, it's really.
Well, and there's a
really-
sequel too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought they were making the sequel.
I think, well, you know,
They
maybe
put
that
out
is.
the director's cut because after like it came out and stuff on Netflix, it got
It's
really
hilarious.
popular, and it got so popular that they gave them more money to finish more shit that they didn't have time to
Oh,
do
yeah.
or they didn't have money for.
It
So
was
it's actually more like
funny.
expanded. It's a funny movie.
It's weird.
And they have this guy. He's an astronaut. It's him and these two astronauts, right? And they go to the moon. Is it the first? It's not
Yeah.
the first time. It's later on in the future.
Yeah, not
And
much further.
They kill one of the guys, and the other guy, it's a black guy, and they, unbeknownst to him, they make him white, and he doesn't know it. So when he comes back to Earth, he's trying to talk to these like black guys and play basketball with them. They're like, "Get out of here, whitey!" And he's like, "What the hell?" And they're like going to kill him and stuff. And he gets in the car and realizes he's like blonde and blue eyes,
Yeah.
and they bleached his skin.
Because they made him Aryan.
Yeah.
It's a really weird
You
film.
should
Because what their
cue
base
it
was
up.
on the dark side of the moon.
On the dark side of the moon, it looks like a giant swastika.
It's a really weird film. I was forced to watch it, but
First one. Who forced you to
my
watch
father-in-law was like, "We're watching this." I'm like, "Oh,
It's entertaining.
it was." It
I
ended
mean,
up
it's
being
not
that way.
like a great movie, but it's entertaining. It's,
Yeah, it was better than some of the other movies
Yeah.
he's shown me. But that's
you know,
all right.
I'm surprised they haven't made I don't know how you like a real movie, a serious movie about these things. Like
About
that's
what?
an interesting thing. Like the Nazis going to the moon and like starting the moon base. Like, why is
Well,
anyone actually?
it's not the Nazis that are going to get there first.
Who's in now?
It's the Chinese. The Chinese
Are
plan
they-
to have a moon base.
No, but I'm
soon.
saying like make a movie exactly like
now that we're not doing it. Now that NASA's
no, but I mean like a movie like Iron Sky, except like an actual serious movie.
yeah.
Or you know what I mean, action movie. Because like there's the
Well, but that's the
The,
thing. They can't, because every time they try to do something like that, they always look into a future that's better than our future. When they, oh no, we went there as a nation, as a human species, we went there.
right.
You know, and that's where Enterprise comes in, and that's where everybody's all happy because everybody loves each other. There's no racisms because we're a species.
Yeah.
Racism because we're a species, and when you have that kind of a film, that's the way it goes. And if you don't, then you go to Iron Sky.
Yeah.
So
But even
that's-
like that, you know, remember that story you read about that, right, Mike? The
Reich.
Reich. Somebody's had a few Red Bulls. I've had a few Red Bulls tonight.
No, it wasn't red. What are you drinking?
Red
Bud Light?
Butts. He said Red Butts. Have a couple Red Butts and go to bed.
And then that Jamaican alcohol.
Mm-hmm. But no, like there was like right. They used to say that the Nazis built a base in Antarctica, right?
Oh yeah.
That's where a lot of them went. Like after the war, during
Yeah.
the war, they were sending people. They were trying to build a base there so they could attack and blah 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 all this stuff.
Yeah.
And that they thought. I always say they when I talk about conspiracy because who's they? I'm
Who's
not
they?
sure.
Yeah.
But whoever writes stupid forum articles on the internet, probably CIA agents. But yeah, so it's like, and then back like in the what was it like the late 40s or the 50s or some shit,
Mhm.
that the army actually sent this like expeditionary force led by Admiral Byrd, and they went down there to actually had to go underground 'cause that's where the Nazi base is.
Yeah.
And they had to fight against the Nazis and all this shit. And it wasn't just the Nazis; it was like Nazis, abominable snowmen, like the fucking Wampa and shit, like for real. And that they lost all these men, and then they eventually left. But it was like, you know, unwritten history. Like they
Yeah.
never like talked about it, and they did actually go there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. That's why
It's almost believable
it's
to
almost
a
like,
degree.
you know, like, and this is the kind of thing we're talking about with Mike. Like, it's almost real because, yeah, they went to Antarctica, but like you can make up anything about why
Yeah.
they went there. You know, of
Yeah.
course. But you know, just for the sake of it, it's interesting.
yeah.
So as soon as I read about it, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Like, I'm interested in that. You know.
Yeah.
And then of course I'm like, man, hopefully there's some movie, even if it's kind of like a lame movie. And of course, pull up some fucking movie on Netflix, and it's like, what's the guy with the teeth? Ace from Starship Troopers, Jake Busey.
Oh yeah.
It's like Jake Busey and like, you know, Erica Lennick or something like that. I don't know. It wasn't her, but somebody Nicole Eggert.
Oh.
Some like a Baywatch person or something. But it's some really. I've never seen it. I couldn't
Yeah.
even watch it because all the reviews were so horrible that it wasn't even like, oh, you should watch it because it's
'Cause
silly
it's horrible,
or it's
yeah.
silly. It's just like, this is a piece of shit. Like, don't even waste
Don't
your
even
time.
waste. Yeah.
And my time is too precious because I'm awesome. My time is too precious for that.
So, Mike, what do you believe in any conspiracies? Do you agree with, or at least kind of understand the point of view of any conspiracies?
Absolutely. I mean, I absolutely believe in it.
What would be your top conspiracies that you think are believable?
I honestly, I'm being completely legit. Like, I would need to see a list of like what are the top 10
Top conspiracies.
popular
Okay,
conspiracies,
so I'm
just so I could remind myself.
Okay.
But more likely
Kurt
than anything, I think like the government stuff seems more likely. See, like the Kurt Cobain one, I don't. When you're like, oh, it's Courtney, that's ridiculous. That's stupid.
You're an idiot.
That's actually
boo.
stupid because it makes no sense that
You're
somebody,
not stupid. The person that made it up
yes,
is stupid.
Because if that's true, then she's the smartest person on the planet, and we're idiots because she somehow managed to
Yeah,
keep
now that
this,
sounds really dumb.
keep this act going for 20 years just to prove a point that she can get away with it. It's
like she's pretending to be stupid and drugged out and like
Right.
just to cover up the fact that she's actually a conniving,
Murdering-
maniacal, amazingly
gorgeous and
gorgeous. And she goes home and she's like, "Oh, now I
Wah.
can be pretty again."
Wah.
She has
right.
just to like wipe off the track marks. And
But see, there's a perfect example. You believe that, right? You actually think that. You're not
At
like
the time,
you're not talking
remember,
about it like for
1994
fun.
Mario, 2014 Mario.
you don't
I
believe
don't know
it.
anymore.
You
I
think
don't know
he-
anymore.
you
I
think
got
he
to the
ate
point
it.
where
You think
I-
he ate it. He ate his own bullet.
I still don't know. I'm torn as to whether or not she had anything to do with it. I don't
What
know.
if Lane Staley did it? And out of
Oh wow!
they made a suicide pact.
Only to be
It took Lane Staley
and the
years
Sublime
later.
guy too.
Okay, dude, we're all gonna fucking 8-ball together. It's gonna be sweet. We're gonna write a song before we do it, and
And all get famous.
And we're gonna get famous at the same
But
time.
Kurt was the only one that joined the 27 Club. There's a
that
conspiracy
is
there.
lame. I don't get that.
You don't get the 27.
I know
Club?
what it is, but it's lame. Like the Lana Del Rey recently, like I'm
What?
sure it was like out of context now, but she made some comment in some English like, I'm just so tired of life. I'm just ready to die and like blah blah blah. And like I think she mentioned that fucking stupid 27
Joining
Club
the
thing.
27
Like,
Club.
and they're like, why would you say that? Like it, and even out of out of context, it sounds really stupid.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, life's just so horrible and boring and stressful. I just want to die sometimes. I'm ready to die or whatever. And it was probably taken out of context.
Yeah.
I'll give her that credit, but it's still stupid.
Yeah.
Stupid. Like,
Jeez.
like I get mopey, but I'm not like, guys, I think this is it. I'm really getting close to the edge.
I'm gonna
know,
join.
Mike,
I'm
will
gonna
you-
join Jim
you-
Morrison and
Yeah.
Mama Cass.
Mike,
Jimi Hendrix.
can you make me a chicken sandwich so I can choke on the bone?
What's the old joke? If Karen Carpenter and Mama Cass were in the same room together, they could have saved each other's lives.
Oh man.
Dude, delete the stream.
Oh gosh. Wow.
And if Louis Anderson was in there, they could have saved them both.
It's Sam Kinison!
I think Louis Anderson's alive.
You're talking about Sam Kinison!
John Candy.
Sam Kinison!
Live in Tempe.
That would have been quite an orgy, wouldn't it? Like Louis Anderson, Sam Kinison, John Candy, Mama Cass, and pre-skinny Roseanne.
She's skinny now.
Yeah, well, I mean, she lost.
Somebody got some drugs! Kinison!
She's normal. She's normal big, not big.
Who?
Roseanne.
I thought she was thin now.
That's what I said. Like
Oh.
she lost weight.
Sorry.
Like she's probably not like a fucking like a bodybuilder, but like she's, you know.
I think I was getting groceries the other day and Kirstie Alley's lost some.
But she always does that. That's
Oh yeah, she fluctuates.
Good for her though. That means
Yeah.
that she's actually more successful than the person who lost it once and kept it off.
That's true. She's done it multiple times.
Exactly. Imagine how much
But she's
fortitude
failed
it takes.
multiple times
No,
too.
she just lives her regular life and then gets back to it.
But what it is, it's probably that she's
Congratulations,
not. She's not a
Kirstie Alley.
human.
You are a winner.
She's not a human. Conspiracy time. She's not a human. She's an alien. And once every 5 years, she molts.
Oh,
And that's where the fat is.
oh wow.
And it makes another Kirstie Alley, which in turn goes back home.
See, I
Okay,
believe that.
leaves-
I believe that.
Since Mike needs a list, Rick,
She
top
molts.
conspiracies. Your favorite conspiracies.
I'll throw
Either
out
favorite that you
conspiracies to
believe or
Mike.
favorite that are too crazy.
I'll
Okay,
throw-
we'll
I'll
do
throw
that.
it to some of you first, since
We'll
you were talking
bait
about
Mike
that
a
earlier.
little bit more
Okay.
because I'm afraid we're losing him.
He's tweeting. He's live tweeting this podcast.
I'm listening to another podcast actually, while I do this one. with you.
Use coupon code.
Coupon.
Jeez, I can't even talk.
KKK coupons.
Coupon code
Ku
WTF.
Klux coupon. It's like Groupon, but it's only for areas.
Coupon.
Wow.
I said I'm not editing, so I'm not editing.
Coupons. Ku Klux Coupons.
Wow. Okay, so Rick, run some by Mike. Come on. Stay on topic.
Okay.
Hey, Porkins.
Chug that ice cold Bud
let me
Light. You like
see,
beer,
so-
right, Rick?
Wow.
How's that Bud
We
Light?
apologize for the transition.
Not as good as a,
episode.
not as good
I
as a
apologize
craft
for
beer,
all of
is
my
it?
transitions.
If you've listened to previous episodes and you go back and listen to Mario's transition into talking about beers,
It's an Easter
best
egg.
thing we've ever heard.
That's coming out of the bathroom, and
which is why I don't do
I
transitions.
got
anymore.
ambushed. I got beer bushed.
So read your list. Give Mike a list of.
Okay, well, we left the JFK one alone. Okay, so I'm going to give you... I'm just making them up. I'm not making them up, but I'm saying them off the top of my head. Moon hoax.
Moon hoax.
Moon hoax?
You're asking like just yay or nay?
Yeah, with a little bit of commentary.
We went to the
Go.
moon. I'm positive we went to
Okay,
the moon.
so there's no way it's fake.
No.
You would bet your life on it.
Yeah.
You would live on the dark side of the moon forever if you're wrong.
Yeah. I'd be happy to do that, even if I'm right.
With no spacesuit.
That'd be fine too. Because
But it's fine because the air is breathable.
Right.
Breathable.
Brief. I'm briefing.
Cool.
It's queefable. Everything smells like...
We should start recording before you get drunk. I think that might be better content.
My name's Jabari Griffin. Nice to meet you. I'm new to the show. Rick's dead. Thank you.
Okay,
Is that
so
a real person? They just make up a name?
Because
I don't know.
we were in what 7th grade or 8th grade, right when the Challenger exploded. Right. So
No, we were like that was like third grade, dude. That was 86. That was second grade.
Okay. So
Wow.
if,
Right,
we,
it was
if
86.
we don't believe we went to the moon, we'd have to believe all that stuff's fake too, and that when the shuttles go off.
No,
it's
that's
all-
why. That's oh.
What?
See where you're going?
What?
I'm going to entertain this because you just said if we were to believe that the moon, the moon thing is a hoax. This isn't me talking, but if I was a dick, I would say that's why they keep crashing. It's because they can't get to the moon.
Because the props aren't working.
No, they keep trying, and this like the jets aren't coming back from the moon or from space. They're just not making it out of the atmosphere.
But when they actually do land and attach, or
Yeah, but it didn't go anywhere. It didn't go to the moon. Didn't go to the International Space Center. I'm just saying. He brought up the Challenger, man. That's real.
okay, so the magic
That burns
bullet.
deep.
We did cover a little bit of JFK, but just in general, just to make it more focused, the magic bullet.
See, there's just not enough evidence. That's just kind of one of those take a stab and pick a side, and you don't know which side's going to end up being right until God can tell you the truth. My favorite thing about
How
the
about
prospect-
what's your
Oh,
favorite hoax, God?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that'd be some of my first things.
Like,
is-
there's a conspiracy
I've always
right
said
there.
I want to know a couple things if God will answer for me. One, I want to know my lifetime shooting percentage for every single basketball I've
Nice.
ever shot into any rim. Somewhere there's a percentage of every single shot I've taken and made and missed. I'd like to know.
Nice.
And then I'd like to know about this stuff. So it's probably easier for me to believe that something is awry in the Kennedy situation. It just doesn't make sense, or it wouldn't keep coming up 2014. Because we're certainly not asking if biblical stuff is a hoax. We're not asking about Constantine or this seems to be
We
a
can
very.
get into
That's a
that.
good movie.
It seems to
That's-
be.
that's
I finally saw that, by the way. Finally saw that.
Aren't they
I like a
redoing
movie.
it or something?
I like
Or
a movie.
Finally saw
they're
that.
doing something with it.
I don't know. They're
Anyway.
burning all the
Anyway.
copies.
So,
Well, that was Green Lantern.
the thing I ask is, let's say that that's the case. Let's say some entity that wasn't Oswald took out the president of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Why hasn't it happened again?
Who
Because
says it hasn't?
Here's
What? Haven't you seen
been other
Dave?
stuff.
Haven't you seen Dave?
what's that?
When the president dies and they
Kevin
replace
Kline?
him with the twin,
Kevin Kline?
or not the twin, but a guy who looks like him.
Like the Mayor Castro thing here in town?
Why? See, they could have been like, he didn't have to step down. His brother could have just taken over, and they could have been like, oh, he didn't. He's still his brother got appointed into the.
So the other day I was
They could have
driving.
done that. They could have swapped him. They could have been like, yeah, Obama nominated Julian Castro to the HUD thing. And he's like, oh, I just sent my brother.
Something with
My
something with
brother.
SA people on HUD never seems to go well.
Yeah, that's the first
Oh,
thing
wow.
I thought, and
Yeah.
I told someone that, and I was like, I would have waited out the administration.
See, this
I
is
would've
sad.
waited
I don't
out.
know
I
the
would've started
current
all
events,
over.
but I remember Cisneros, so
What do you remember about him?
the HUD thing, and that there was a
Panties.
like you got in trouble. So
Good thing this is a San Antonio.
apparently
podcast.
he was wearing women's panties.
No,
on.
no. I think he was just having an affair, and he was
Yeah,
paying his
yeah.
mistress, and he didn't disclose it when all this stuff came out. So when it came out, he got
Yeah.
busted or whatever. But that was it.
Which sucks.
But again, like that's the thing. It's like it just has that weird ring of like, you don't want to like revisit that.
Yeah.
And
So what- so
This
what
isn't
else?
a political.
Well, like I was saying, the other day I was
podcast,
driving and coming
Oh, yeah.
coming off of an access road and then taking that left turn on a bridge, and on that bridge, boom, it hits you, and you see all these people with posters and stuff like that, and they're all anti-Obama people hanging over the bridge
Oh,
over
yeah.
a major highway.
That's over by
they
my
say like
apartment,
no
too.
Obama.
Is that when his
and
wife
all
was
this
here, though?
Stuff.
Michelle Obama was here.
And
Though.
I don't know. This
Yeah,
was
she-
like this weekend.
Oh no, never
and
mind. That was a couple
and there's
weeks ago.
little kids holding signs too. It was like a 6-year-old on the bridge over the highway with
Yeah.
cars going above this bridge, which by the way seems really unsafe since there's really nothing to blockade cars.
Someone
from,
could just go.
yeah. So, but the whole point of that is if first of all, these people are like crying out that Obama's the worst thing that's ever happened, and all the posters have all this anti stuff, and I'm like, that's the president of the United States. Someone needs to tell those people that his term doesn't go 3 times. He's already
almost
going to
over.
be out anyway.
Yeah.
So that would be probably a step in the right direction to get these people to be productive and do something with their day, even if just watching TV would probably be better than wasting their time with that. But secondly, if there's that much vitriol for these people, and this is a worldwide thing, and there was that kind of sentiment for the previous president, and I guess I'm just trying to understand, like, what, because wouldn't the lobbyists be more scary than a mafia circle? Wouldn't those people's pockets, if they're not being lined properly, be, wouldn't Philip Morris have more
Philip
power
Seymour Morris.
to to have the power?
That was a little too soon.
Wow. I can't wait to see CGI Philip Seymour Hoffman in the final Mockingbird film.
With Tupac.
Apparently, he's going to be CGI'd like the
That's
Jeff
gross.
Bridges and Troy thing, or Tron.
Oh, that was gross.
Troy.
That would be difficult. Mashup.
But anyway, so at the end of the day,
Obama.
if Kennedy upset people to that degree that it warranted taking him out in a public environment like that, because that was the way to get it done. Let's say that the government knows that happened. Why would it be worse for us to know that happened than some random guy got him? What does that do
At this
to us?
point, like, what would it matter?
At any point, because what are we revealing? That he was corrupt? Oh my gosh,
He
a
already knows that
politician
now.
was corrupt?
Yeah, like,
Is that
he
a- is that
cheated
a
on his
shock?
wife. We know that.
I mean, so what is the big, what part of our world is being overturned if that thing gets proven to be correct? So with regard to that specific conspiracy, to me, more likely, if you're asking me what I believe, I probably believe it isn't as clear cut as it was presented to us, because it just doesn't seem to make sense. There's just too much ambiguity about it. The facts that I've read, just a lot of it doesn't match up. So something obviously is going on, and again, I'd be more interested in why. Why is that such an important thing for us not to know, that we're having to sit around here and speculate about it?
Yeah. Okay. Rick, you got another one? I'm trying to think of some right now.
Let me think. I got a couple, but I should avoid. They're probably not podcast-friendly ones. How about the Montreal incident? What was it
that?
called? The wrestling one.
Oh, God. Revisit that all over again.
The Montreal
screw job?
Can we change the name of the podcast to the San Antonio Screwjob?
No.
Hey, badass.
That's awesome.
You mean the episode?
No, the
The
entire
podcast?
podcast.
I think-
Change your branding.
I think Anthony would tell you where it concerns Bret Hart and wrestling, that was very real.
That was exciting. Like, I listened to that
Yeah,
episode
it was
again because Anthony was the bomb in that episode.
Yeah, he was.
But it
He
took
was.
us
I
an hour
heard
to
compliments
get to the explanation
of the screw
We
job.
of the
teased
screw
it.
job. Yeah,
We teased
we
it.
did a good job. That
Got
was
an
the
hour
one
of
good
theory,
job
and then we
did.
got it at the end. It was the big
Yeah.
payoff.
Yeah, it was. It was awesome.
Let's see, what else? Because
Um,
I know we're going to avoid other things.
crack in the CIA selling crack. No, that's a boring one. That was boring. Let's get a Mel Gibson on the line. See if we can get a couple of his ideas. Oh, the line's busy. Never mind.
Wow.
Mel Gibson.
Okay, 25 of
That's
the
a
greatest
conspiracy
theories
in of
history.
itself, right there.
Okay, well, here, I don't know if you would call this conspiracy theory, but that the pyramids were not built by humans, but by aliens.
Or by apocalypse.
Or by Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen, yeah.
See, now that gets fun. Like Stonehenge, for example. Why build that and how? How is that actually possible? But there's a lot of people that theorize that despite all our technology, there's ways to prove intelligence beyond computer silicon chips. And so maybe back then they had an intelligence that was so advanced that we've forgotten it and had to start over. So maybe the simple use of levers and pulleys and mechanical advantage to make Stonehenge happen is the same thing. Because I definitely believe... Have y'all ever been to Europe?
Where that's on the other side of Austin.
Yes. So
No.
on the other side of 35 is Europe.
Yes.
So you ever walk into any of those architectural structures and you get in there and you're like, you realize how young the United States is. It's not a conspiracy that those things are thousands of years old and ours is very young.
Right.
You just look at it and you're aware. You can see how many thousands of years these castles and these other structures and those things could not have been built in one generation because they just didn't have the technology to do that.
So you can do it. It just might take you 500 years to complete something that's
right.
marvel.
So if you're asking me about the pyramids, I'm sure if I've never been there and I'd like to, but the wonders of the world are a very easy thing to be like, well, this is just too much. It's too hard for me to process in my puny brain.
Yeah.
I can't cognitively measure that this could have been done because we don't measure like that, especially Americans in our right now society with our instant gratification. We can't comprehend the idea of something taking any amount of time. We microwave our food instead of cooking a meal. So how could we ever fathom the pyramids being built over a long period of time? We just don't understand why anyone would dedicate their lives to that or be forced to dedicate their lives. Moreover. So no, I don't think the pyramids were built by aliens because that just doesn't jive. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. If you're like, well, Michael, I've got the proof. Here it is, and show me the footage. Then I'd be like, cool. So I wouldn't be like my world wouldn't
just
again
sit through the credits
again. This is again the same thing. If you the why would be bigger to me because once again, if you show me the footage that the aliens built it, I'd be like, well, that's cool. That's awesome. It's cool that they built that here instead of on another planet where we can't see it. That'd be my reaction to that. That's how I'd feel about it. Like, oh, that's awesome. You know. They obviously haven't done us any other harm, so if they built some cool structures here, that's awesome. Triangles are one of my favorite shapes, so sweet.
Yeah.
Bermuda Triangle.
That's like Jay-Z, Illuminati.
How about Bermuda
Illuminati
Triangle?
style.
Bermuda Triangle. My favorite version of that was in DuckTales.
Oh, when they eat the seaweed, the seaweed hot dogs.
Yeah.
And the Titanic's not the Titanic. What's like one of the ships that went missing? All the people are still alive.
Yeah.
They have to eat seaweed, but then they don't want them to leave. Something
Right.
like that, right? Like they have to it's like a thing to leave. The Bermuda Triangle, I always dug that one as a kid. Like that one, always. There's a book.
Yeah.
There's a very particular book. I think it's by a guy named Charles Berlitz, and it's like the first thing I ever read. I probably checked it out at the library when I was in third grade or something, and it's written in the '60s or something like that. And it was it freaked me out. It just freaked me out.
It captures your imagination.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that always endures. And then now it's I think the Discovery Channel did a Bermuda Explain. It sucks.
Yeah.
It pisses me off because it's and that's the thing. It's that's part of the reason with debunking is that even in the debunking they go, well, science has proven this is probably what happened. They still can't
still
even
know.
prove it. They say,
Yeah.
oh, it's a rogue wave or it's the methane things that shoot out of
Column,
the ocean
yeah.
or whatever. But they don't have that shit on video hitting a plane or
Right.
sinking a ship or whatever. So it's the same thing, but they're like, no, we know this. This is how it would happen. That's more realistic than it's a porthole or a wormhole to the dark side of the moon, or it's a gate to hell or whatever. That's and that's probably because I'm a moron and I suck at math and science. So that stuff sometimes is just as much gobbledygook as anything else, because it's the same thing. And I say that not to say that science isn't real. I'm saying, for me, as I would consider myself pretty uneducated when it comes to physics or math or calculus or algebra. Anyone that knows me knows I suck at all those things. So that's the thing. So if you're a scientist, you're some kind of freaking mathematician or whatever, and you're trying to explain fractals and stupid shit to me like that, right? You'd be like, well, Rick, this is blah, 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 blah. I would go, you might as well be talking about fucking aliens because it doesn't matter. Because whatever you're saying, I don't understand. I can't grasp it. So it's the same thing when someone's like, well, the reason why you can explain, Stonehenge is because blah, 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 or you can explain the Bermuda Triangle is because of blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing. I'd be like, put it in my hand.
Yeah.
Like, take me out to the Bermuda Triangle and let me see a rogue wave knock a fucking plane out of the sky.
Yeah.
If it happens, like Mike says, I'll believe you. Cool. Because that's just as freaky as an alien, right? Like, it's not as exciting, it's not as sexy, but that'd be pretty freaking cool to see.
Yeah.
But see, I think sometimes I was thinking about this, like, because we brought up like the Challenger thing, and that's one of the things. Like, it's always like, oh wait, that's too much, right? To talk about that, and that's kind of the thing sometimes with conspiracies. Because if something has just enough of that layer of like where it's still a scab, enough that it can't be a conspiracy, you can't talk about that. You. Because it's like, and that's why the JFK thing always strikes me is odd, because it's something now that, like, as Americans, as the world, people feel like they have ownership of, right? Mm-hmm. Like, anybody can write a book about JFK, anybody can do a podcast or a movie or whatever, because it's like public domain now.
Yeah.
But, like, at the end of the day, like, what remains left over is, like, some guy, whatever. I mean, nobody deserves to be murdered, right? I mean, that's unless you're the devil or Hitler or something. I don't know, and so that's the thing. Is like, the guy still had, like, a wife and kids, and his kids had to live their whole lives hearing this bullshit every November, or every anniversary or whatever. And I'm not saying, that's life. That's our world. That's the way things work. But sometimes it's almost like that's why it's hard to even explore some of these things, because you get too far and people, now you're talking about, like, 9/11 stuff or the Malaysia 370 thing, which has completely fallen out of public,
And what was the result of that?
Nothing.
Let's revisit that.
Nothing.
Nothing.
They're like, oh, it's gone. That's it. It's somewhere now.
Well,
they're
there
like,
you go. There's another
now they're like, it's somewhere else in the ocean that we weren't looking, and we just figured out it's like 2,000 miles away from where we thought it was, and it's too hard to find now, and it's probably in a zillion pieces. So that's it.
Wow.
That's pretty much where they're starting to leave it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, and we mentioned that even in that podcast, I think, is that, like, you're still talking about, like, 200 people who have
human
beings, and that's like, and that's why it's hard to even, like, we can talk about this, right? Because we're friends, right? Mm-hmm. And we're not trying to hurt each other's feelings or get sensitive with each other or get political with each other, because we're just sitting here bullshitting. And there very well may be someone who's listening to this who's like, oh, that's too soon, whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
The views expressed in the
but
podcast.
That's part of the thing, is that that's why in some ways conspiracies remain conspiracies, because to a certain degree you can only go so far, and then you're like, oh, you can't talk about that. You know what I mean?
See, and I don't buy that, though. I think that's a cop-out.
But that's like the 9/11 thing, is because it's either you have to be on one extreme or another. You have to either be someone who's like, the terrorists, the bad people hurt us, and, like, somebody I love died. Mm-hmm. Or you're the kind of person who's a nut job, and you're like, the government did it, and they murdered our own citizens, and it's all a lie, it's all a sham, right? Whatever, right?
Nut job?
What?
That was my next topic.
What was?
9/11.
Oh, okay. Well, we can bleed into it, but that's what I'm saying. Is like,
no, you're calling me a nut job now.
No, I'm not. I'm saying, why is there only extremes?
Right.
Like, in other words, depending on, like, I don't know your particular view. I mean, I'll find out in a second. I don't know Mike's particular view on that. Now, Mike could easily say, oh, well, like, that's not cool, Rick, because, my friend's dad died in 9/11. You can't talk about that. That's disrespectful. But it's like, that's part of the issue, is that, like, like, how do you do that? I'm not saying I know how.
Right.
Because I don't. I can only talk about that kind of stuff in the space of people I know.
Oh, you just preempted by saying I don't mean any disrespect. However,
but people go, but you said it. That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
But, like
I said, I think that's a cop-out. I think we should be advanced enough to be able to talk about things, and if you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to think about it, then turn it off.
But I think everything has its limit. Like, everything has its little, like, its clip level, right? Because you have certain things. Again, like JFK. Mm-hmm. You could probably go to your, like, family reunion and sit around and talk about JFK if you wanted with your family, and nobody would be offended. Nobody would be like, hey, man, I was alive in 63, and, JFK was the best president, and now you're shitting on his memory by talking. Probably no one's going to say that at this point. No one alive, at least, right?
Yeah.
So, but now, in the same token, if you were to, like, talk about Obama conspiracies, even though at this point, like Mike said, it doesn't even matter, right? Like, in a couple of, however long, he's not going to be in office. He's going to be working on his presidential library and writing another book, and life will be great. And he'll be playing golf with George Bush, whatever. But right now, if you say it, it's like, it's not just that that you're disrespecting the person and their position and their struggles and their sacrifice. The problem is you're disrespecting other people's belief systems. Like, I believe in that man, so if you talk about him, you're telling me I'm a stupid person. Like, we're joking about the Kurt Cobain thing. Like, if you believe in the conspiracy, you're stupid.
Yeah.
Never mind that, like, whatever, you're entitled to be entertained by whatever you want.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, too. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm kind of going on this long, like, whiny tangent, but that's kind of the thing with a lot of conspiracy stuff, is that either you don't believe it because you just don't believe it because it's wacky,
or you go all the way
you're
to
a
the
nut.
other side.
And we've talked about it, like, I have no time for loose change and zeitgeist and all that shit. I have no time for it because it's like it's boring to me. It's boring because a lot of it goes so far that I'm like, never mind, I'm not interested. Like, tell me something that, like, is plausible or make a good argument that's not 4 hours long.
I get that. Like my parents, when I was living at home, we kind of got into. Have you ever heard Coast to Coast AM? So it's pretty much an AM radio station dedicated to nothing but conspiracies and aliens and everything that revolves around all of that. They talk about, like, so many different topics, and, like, I had listened to probably hundreds of hours of it, and at the time, I was like, oh my god, yes, I believe all of this. I believe all of this. Then I reached a point where I'm like, no, I don't believe that. That's bullshit. That's not true. That's idiotic. Whoever thought this up is a pure idiot. And then I looked back at all the other stuff that I was, like, easily being fed, and I was like, oh, maybe some of this is bullshit too, you know? Like, I can be the first one to say that when we chased around aliens when I was a kid, I was like, oh, what are we going to do if we find them? What are we going to do if they fucking land and say, hey, we saw you following us, what's up? You know?
Yeah. They're like,
and now I'm
just
like,
came to kill you.
Yeah, and now I'm like, you know, yeah, we said at the time it wasn't a plane and it wasn't blinking and it was a solid light and it was changing speeds and direction and all this and that, but now I'm like, well, I was a kid. Was I really paying that much attention? Was I half asleep? Was I trying to sleep? Was I dreaming? You know, do aliens exist? I don't even know anymore, you know? I can say that 15 years ago, I was like a very staunch, heavy believer. Yes, aliens exist. Yeah. The X-Files are true. And now I'm like, no, I really don't think so. I think there would.
You don't believe they exist anymore?
I don't believe that they exist in the way that we have made them into. If they do exist, and I'm not going to say that I don't believe that we are the only things in the universe. So I believe that there are beings elsewhere, somewhere in this great unknown. Mm-hmm. Do they give a shit about us? Probably not. Right. Would I? Probably not. If they're that advanced, they're probably like, oh, that's the ugly kid on the playground. Let's stay away from them, you know?
Or like the way you see an ant. Like, you're not going to follow an ant and go into the hive with it and be particularly interested in what it does with its life.
Exactly, if they exist. And that's the thing. I'm at this point where I'm like, maybe they do, maybe they don't, whatever. Doesn't really matter to me because, like Mike's saying, at the end of the day, what does it matter to me, technically? I still go to work. Yeah. Still come home.
Like,
it's not going to change my life.
I'm more concerned with the theory, like in Fringe, where there was the regular universe and then there was the alternate universe. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was so badass and fascinating that there was a parallel universe.
I'm only on episode 8 in season 1.
You get there pretty quick. It's not a spoiler.
Oh, okay, good.
It's like pretty much the whole show.
And really, dude, how much time do you need to torrent?
I'm just fucking with
you. So anyway.
It's still buffering.
Surely you'll be able to get your pixels going soon on your
Dude, the entire series is on Netflix, dude. It's all there for
I've already downloaded the entire series.
He doesn't want to see it on Netflix.
You know, dude, it's real quick. I know we love tangents. Let's call this podcast Tangents. Tangents with Rock Cock Rocker. You can buy the entire Fringe series on Blu-ray for like $40. The entire thing. I spent $40 for each fucking season.
Honors in the dollar, kid. You don't get rewarded for loyalty.
I'm gonna slap these people.
Well,
that's a conspiracy.
Well, when Walter Bishop explains that there's hundreds or thousands of universes, I was crushed. Because I thought, well, then that's really stupid. Where he's like, actually, there's multiple versions of ourselves. Well, first of all, why would that doesn't make any sense. That, to me, is ridiculous. Because let's say that's true. Well, each of those universes have an origin. Who's to say that those specific people all bred the way they bred and met each other and all ended up in the same cities with the same whatever?
Well, it's not. But you're looking at it like a very thin slice of all the capabilities of the multiverse.
The point is, by the time it got to the year 2010... those people wouldn't all be in Boston at the same exact time, sitting in the same areas. Yeah. Everyone would be in totally different places. Certain generations would have even occurred.
Every moment in time has a branch, though. That's the thing, is that it's not just different timelines. And you're not thinking 10 different timelines. Yeah. You're thinking right off the bat, Big Bang, 10, like, okay, let's just say infinity times infinity of realities, and then every split second that reality continues, it branches off into another infinite amount of realities.
Yeah. What would blow my mind, which they should have done an episode on that, is that if that's the case, if there's like infinite
Dimensions or
realities
realities
or multiverses or whatever, like for like probability's sake, like me, in the majority of them, I'm probably dead.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to
Yeah,
say.
oh, yeah.
Because
That's
how
what I
many
was trying to
times
say
did
is,
you?
What are the odds that if we go to the parallel
Yeah.
universe of this timeline, that I'm going to find myself in San Antonio here with this, in the job I'm in, and who's to say I'll have had the same relationships and the same friends and went to the same schools and all that?
You wouldn't be the same
Well,
person.
but here's
At
what
all.
it's going to blow your mind.
I might not even exist because my mom might not have met my dad. She might have met a different guy. It's sort of like the John Connor thing. So, and then go back and even further, I probably don't exist in another timeline.
But that's the thing. You got to think about it as millisecond branches.
So because we happen to catch in on the Fringe people at that time in the episode,
That's just
we're just lucky.
yeah.
We happened to catch them as they were filming it, so we got lucky.
But maybe it's like, and that's the thing is the reason why those two universes were so tightly wound is because those were the ones that were closest.
well, that's the thing. Is
like
that,
that's as close as it could get.
is
you
that
know,
like out of infinity times infinity times infinity, you've got, let's say, still infinity amount that are identical up until point X.
right? But
And
you
then they
figure,
split.
but you figure even as like,
And then even then, half of those continue on identically until point Y.
yeah,
So I mean, it's.
But it's just that's why
But at the end of the day, I still go to work.
still go to work.
Still wipe
and
my
that's
ass.
what's bullshit, man. Is that like that's what's bullshit? Is that like no matter how interesting this stuff is, it doesn't change
No,
anything. You're right.
no,
And,
of course not.
Like I remember, like was it in December? Right? Was it this December? No, it was 2012. That was last December, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole bullshit, the stupid Mayan calendar thing. Like I
Oh,
like
yeah.
end of the world stuff. I wrote a
Yeah, me
stupid
too.
script about it. Whatever.
It's not a stupid script.
No,
It's
but
a
I'm saying
very
my
awesome
point.
script.
My point is like that's a thing. Like for every year, some religion or some cult or some group of people think it's the end of the world and it's always going to happen, and it doesn't happen. They make up a fucking bullshit excuse of why it didn't happen. But it's the same thing. It's like as a kid, that's something that would terrify me. Like, oh my god, someday the world's going to end. Like. And it's easy to cast that out because it's something that's so beyond you that you don't have to deal with on a real level, even though it is scary. But now as an adult, like,
But why is it scary though? That's the thing.
no, I'm talking about as a kid. Now as an adult, I give two shits the world ends. That would be fucking cool because you would be front row to the probably the most significant fucking event in the history of mankind.
Yeah, but nobody's going to be around to talk about it.
But no one. Well, that's where the afterlife comes in, bro.
If you believe in an
But
afterlife.
I'm saying that nobody was around for the Big Bang. There will be people around for the end of the world. Obviously.
True.
You know what I mean?
Seth Rogen.
Somebody will be around for it.
There's
And
more.
that's the
There's more
fucking-
evidence that there's an afterlife than there is about some of these conspiracies. I can definitely say that. Listen to this. You
But
brought
even
up,
then, that's a conspiracy.
you brought up 9/11. You brought up 9/11.
Heaven's a conspiracy. Jesus.
No. What you're talking about is organized religion. That's a whole different topic. But
Yes, that's true.
Because there's a very different. There's a huge difference between spirituality and organized religion, which has its own topic and methods of control and whatnot. But anyway, here you brought up 9/11. I'll read this little excerpt.
Yes. Let's talk about
It
that.
says,
The devil in the smoke.
It says, while the terrorists claim responsibility for the attacks which killed almost 3,000 people, since then conspiracy theorists have claimed that either members of our government have been warned about the attacks and allowed it to happen, or some members of the government actually were responsible for the attacks using remote-controlled planes and demolition materials.
Drones.
According to the theorists, the attacks were used to justify wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Rosie O'Donnell has openly discussed her 9/11 doubts, saying down The View in
Oh, well,
2007
Great. I'm in
Scholarship
wonderful
right
that
there.
the way
That's
that World Trade Center buildings fell defies physics.
Ooh, physics.
Charlie Sheen, another expert pundit, has also said 9/11 raises a lot of questions.
A lot of questions.
So according to Rosie O'Donnell, the laws of physics ceased to exist on her stove in My Cousin Vinny
I
and in 9/11.
disagree with her. It's not that the laws of physics didn't work. It didn't work in the method of which the planes hit the building. It worked in a demolition manner of straight down. That's a controlled demo.
I don't know what any of that means.
Maybe you should have some time for loose change
a controlled
and zeitgeist.
You know what a controlled demo is.
Mario's saying that the rapping column foundations,
I
like in
know,
Fight
I
Club,
know.
were
I've seen that thing
detonated.
melt and blah 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 blah. But that's the thing is like that's almost where you get into the nonsense. People like when you get into something that's debatable, that's when you cause those problems because you're like it's like fake science. If like I don't know shit about science, I'm gonna be like, oh, there's an article that a guy read and it said that the blah blah blah. That's when someone's gonna call me an idiot, as opposed to going, why can't you just acknowledge that the government has lied and we know that. And it's possible that they will do it again. Yes. Can you acknowledge that? And that's the thing.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all that
any
matters.
normal person, like, again, that's not my friend, I'd like to ask that without them punching me. It's like, can you just acknowledge that your parents probably lied to you about something? And your government will and has lied to you about something.
Yeah.
And that's life. Your doctor probably lies to you about stuff like, oh, you know what? You've got blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to prescribe this heart medicine for you because that's what you need. Not because I'm getting kickbacks from a fucking pharmaceutical company. Not because it's a fucking placebo, right? Whatever. I'm not even getting on that kick. I'm saying that's the way the world works.
Yeah.
Easily. You know, like, but people can't acknowledge that because, again, this is where you could play with disinformation and all this shit like that because it's easy to get someone to go send someone in who sounds like they know what they're talking about, someone who's charismatic, someone who can rally the people and get them all riled up, but then give them the wrong information so that they make a shitload of people look stupid.
You know what I think the biggest conspiracy is? The media. I think that the people that are in power somewhere way above everybody that we see that are in control of it are like, oh, fucking let these people argue with each other over what's in the news.
Like, and
who cares?
This isn't the
let the media fight each other. Let it draw a line between and have everybody just have like this weird civil war where everybody hates everybody else because of their point of view, and nobody's paying attention to us while we're just sitting doing whatever we want.
It's not even like you can look up actual corporations in the United States that were started by the CIA. And look how many of them are media companies, like the fucking New York fucking Times and all the big like newspapers were actually funded and started up backed by the CIA.
Yeah.
And again, that's not like people, oh, that's a conspiracy. Like, no, like it served a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it served a purpose to create American propaganda, to create, to mold people's morale, to get people, to believe in this national identity. And yes, it can have positive effects. But there's always going to be some fucking dickweed who says we can do this with it. Why not? If you can, why not?
Yeah.
The same dickweed, Miles Dyson, who's going to go, hey, I found a fucking cybernetic hand in the rubble. This looks kind of creepy, but let's, reverse engineer it and build a psychotic, unstoppable Terminator machine. Yeah. And that won't backfire at all on us, will it, Michael? No. Right? Like, it won't backfire. And they're going to do it. Just like there's some dickweed who's in a lab who goes, let's just try to make some form of botulism or anthrax that has zero, way to combat it or to, it's resistant to any,
fatality.
Exactly. Let's just try it because we got to beat the other people to it just in case.
Yeah.
And then we'll put it in a little vial and we'll put it in a freezer and no one will ever need it until there's a zombie outbreak and Brad Pitt needs to come get it and inject himself with it. Right? Sorry, spoiler, folks.
Thanks. I was going to say thanks. I hadn't seen it yet.
That's not that movie. It's a different movie.
Oh,
Anyways, no, but I'm saying, like, that's the thing. It's like, I don't know. And I think we steered off the topic of 9/11.
Well, okay, let's just to rattle off a bunch of...
I'm curious as to what y'all are talking about.
I know, you've been playing World of Warcraft over there for the past 30 minutes.
I've been playing Pretend I'm Awake.
Oh, wow! You guys are boring me with your talk.
If you guys had figured out topics when we got here,
we tried. You didn't like them.
Oh, I wasn't vetoing.
Michael was like, "Let's talk about the price index of pork barrels." And,
okay, so
pork barrels.
There's one that I always wanted to talk about.
I don't even know what that is.
One conspiracy that I always wanted to talk about.
That's Michael. Get him engaged. He looks all bored with your conspiracy.
Let's talk about how to become a master sommelier and learn the wine master tests.
That's a conspiracy. All wine
Colorado
is the same.
Airport.
It's just a different label.
Oh,
so is all gas. All gas is the same. It's just
it's all dirty.
Your car actually doesn't need gas.
It's all dirty water.
You think you're putting gas in there. It actually works on a battery. That the battery is all your car actually needs.
And it discharges just long enough for you.
We've actually always had electric cars. Gas isn't actually. I mean, It's just built so where when you turn off the pump, it drips a little, so that you think.
Well, I
there's
have a
stuff
Mr.
coming out.
Fusion in my car. Thank you very much.
Those are awesome.
Colorado Airport.
Ooh,
What's that?
that's a good one.
Rick brought home pictures.
The
of
Colorado Airport. You been there? To the Denver Airport
Denver Airport, my bad.
in Colorado.
I don't
You're
think
correct.
I've flown through there.
So like, I'll tell you the conspiracy part, not the Rick part. The conspiracy part. Conspiracy part is that like, part of it's fact, right? Like they built a Denver airport, a brand new Denver airport, when they had a functional, working, municipal, whatever Denver airport, and they decided to raise all this money and build an airport that was 20 miles outside of the city of Denver, but it's the Denver airport. It'd be like building the San Antonio airport in freaking Helotes or New Braunfels or something. Okay? And you look really excited about this topic. Picking your ears, touching yourself.
He's making sure he can hear you better. through the
I want to get into this. Let me just anyway, so there's all these stupid little things. Like I say stupid because it's a mixture. It's not just one interesting thing. It's like there's like a capstone thing, and it says like this airport is hereby, dedicated in the name of the New World Airport Commission. New World Airport Commission, which is a commission that doesn't exist. So people automatically like, oh, it's a New World Order, blah, 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 right? So there's that. And then supposedly there's all this like underground... They had built some kind of underground like luggage system thing that never worked properly, but it was all these tunnels underground and all these different kinds of shit. And they say that there's people that like built the place, like construction workers and stuff, that they were hired to go under the ground. There's all these sub-levels beneath the, like, a mile down. And in these sub-levels, they saw basically what they describe as like internment camps, like barbed wire, like, enclosures, and they came across things that were alive that weren't human beings, like reptile people and other
cryptozoology
aliens and shit. But nobody knows the story, because what they would say is they would hire one contractor to like build one tiny section of the airport, and then like let them go, and then rebid it out to another contractor to build another section. So nobody actually knows what the whole thing looks like conveniently, right?
Okay.
And while you're mildly interested, Google the layout of the runway, right? Just put Denver Airport runway, okay, while you're listening to me.
I have it pulled up in a second.
So, anyway, so all this stuff. So people the mysterious they, say it's basically like a FEMA internment camp for dissidents. So if there's ever like a civil war in the United States, this is where the government, meaning at that point will be the New World Order, that takes over, right? That they're all the people that are dissidents that are trying to fight against the government, that are trying to start a revolution. They'll lock them all up here and imprison them in the sub-levels of this airport, because it's centralized, like in the middle of the country, and it's actually connected by underground magnetic railroads that connect to like every major city and every major Air Force base or military installation. And these magnetic rail lines can like get across the country in minutes. And I can appreciate all this. This is all fun stuff. I'm not making fun of it, because some of it's very exciting. Even if it's silly, I still can appreciate it. I'm still going to steal it and put it in movies.
I got to show
Mike
the murals.
And that's the part that's real. So like I'd read about it prior to, and so when we actually went through the arrival gate. This is the stuff that you see, right? These murals. And anyone who's listening, who's still with us at this point, when you get a chance, Google Denver Airport murals, and it'll come up, this stuff.
Why is that one of the pictures?
That's a good question. It's the Nazi guy with the gun and the sword.
The sword.
Yeah.
So there's this like set of murals, right? Supposedly it's like a linear story. But what it looks like, if you were to just out of context walk up, it looks like, oh, this is a Nazi and he's killing minority children, and like there's pictures of kids in coffins, and this is like, a rock's throw away from McDonald's and Subway and shit, Burger King or whatever. Like, this is what you see as soon as you walk out of like the arrival gates, and it's these huge murals in the walls, and it depicts like
Animals
animals that are dead. They're extinct animals. There's a parrot and a turtle and some other junk.
Quetzalcoatl.
And there you go, Quetzalcoatl. And there's kids. There's a little like Jewish girl in a coffin. There's a Native American kid, I think, in a coffin. There's actually part of the mural is this poem that was written by this child that like died in Auschwitz. Like, and I'm not making fun of this. Is all real, right? You can look at this shit and it's all on there.
I was once a little child who longed for other worlds, but I am no more a child, for I have known fear. I have learned to hate. How tragic then is youth, which lives with enemies, with gallows, ropes. Yet I still believe I only sleep today, that I'll wake up a child again and start to laugh and play.
Yeah. Like, this is, like, not... It's not, like, happy, like... It's a small world after the world, like, sentiment. This is, like, heavy shit that's, like... again, like, it's sensitive, right? You're talking about real things. And so it has, like... But what it's saying is, like, there's this... All the kids of all the nations of the world are, like, banding together, and they're bringing peace through their unity, and they're bringing back the animals that had gone extinct, and they're like bringing back spirituality and peacefulness and intercultural relations, and they break and melt down and bend all the weapons of the world and build them into plowshares and make a brand new world with no war and racism or dying, right? Yeah. And that's all great. Right, if that's what you're trying to say. It's not the Nazis. You're not depicting like mass killing and genocide and what some people say is like the fucking Twin Towers burning in the background. But what they say is like, this is peace. It's a message of peace. Now, again, if you're a conspiracy person, you're going to say, well, it's the New World Order. This is what they're selling you. They're saying, let's meld everybody together. Let's melt the borders. Let's melt, individual sovereignty. And follow us, and we'll lead you to peace. Again, like, I'm not inventing this as I'm talking, right? This is all there. Like, it's...
What are your thoughts, Mike? You've seen some of these pictures. What are your thoughts?
I think that's pretty intense. I think that's pretty over the top, because especially in our culture, if you have to explain something to that degree... Mm-hmm. Knowing that the masses process information the way it's processed, you're probably not going to get general people to ask for all that information. They're just going to see imagery and make their own minds
assumptions.
Up.
Yeah,
they're going to process. They're going to interpret. They're going to be
so
affected.
What are you interpreting?
Without knowing anything. Like, I mean, granted, when I saw it for the first time, I knew to look out for it. I like conspiracy shit, so I read about it. But as a normal person. When you see that.
Meanwhile, Rick had sent me these pictures, and I was like...
While I was there.
I was like, what the fuck is all of this?
It's pretty dark, man. I mean, that's pretty... It just seems unnecessary.
It's in an airport. It's in an airport.
Yeah. I mean, think about San Antonio Airport. When you come through the freaking, like, arrival gates here, what do you see? Like, cowboys.
You don't see the giant Mustang built by Mexican artist Luis Jimenez.
That killed him. He was impaled by his own...
The head fell on it and severed an artery in his leg, and he died. And
it's a giant, like...
Blue Mustang with
red glowing eyes. Saw this shit. Like, I'm just not reading about this. I saw this with my own eyes.
Yeah. It's crazy shit, man. And then
So what do you think it's all about?
And then Freemasons.
Freemasons are always involved. And there's a lot of, like... I think, is it Navajo? Like, there's some, like, Native American stuff in the floors and stuff. And what do I make of it? I don't know. But I don't know. I'm not saying it's an evil message. I think it's, like you said, I think it's a perfect example of what you said. Is like, it's hard to have a real context for it. If I'm a normal person walking through the gates and I've never seen that, and I were to see that, I would be slightly shocked by it, I guess. I wouldn't necessarily want my kids to see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's, again, like going on to what you're talking about. That's the thing. I'm like, what does that mean? What are you trying to say?
Because is that more of a conspiracy, or is it more of just straight up propaganda? Is that just someone who has, or some group of people that have the ability and the power to get something very important to them out with the money and the backing and the power, political backing or whatever backing you need to have certain things on government structures, right? Because airport's a federal structure. Right?
I would say so, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends, because you can have a municipal airport that's owned by the city itself.
But if it's international, it's federal, right?
That's a good question. It's regulated by, but not funded by. I would assume.
Yeah.
By, I don't know. We're kind of getting out of our depth with that, but I
Right.
don't know. But again, like I said, context is a big part of that because what does it mean? Either it's not a conspiracy and it's just like somebody was commissioned to draw really weird shit, and maybe they were like, let's just trust this guy's instinct. And he drew this shit, and they're like, oh god.
Yeah.
Okay, now we just have to like hope people won't notice it, right? That happens. Maybe the guy was a fucking nut
And they were
job,
like, "Oh, let's just keep it.
Yeah,
It's colorful."
it's a conversation piece. I took that.
Meanwhile,
from Frank
the gargoyle popping out of the suitcase.
yeah, there's a
too.
gargoyle. That's not weird.
Popping out of
like
a suitcase.
freaking demon. And I asked a friend. I'm trying to remember who it was. He's probably not listening right now, but I asked a friend about that because he had recently gone through the Denver airport, and I said, "Dude, did you see the murals?" And he was like, "What?" I said, "Did you see the gargoyle when you're walking out the door to the taxi stand?" He's like, "No, I didn't notice any murals." I'm like, "How did you miss them? They're huge."
Well, maybe that's the other thing. So many people are just
Like
so
moving back and forth, and
out
that's
of it.
the thing.
They
is,
don't pay
like,
attention.
you see colors, and you can't really miss a
A
9
giant
foot tall
Nazi-looking
Nazi with
guy.
the sword and an AK-47.
Yeah.
Like that would stand out to me. Like if you repainted your kitchen and had a giant Nazi on the wall, I'm sure somebody would notice.
So the runway is supposed to be in a swastika?
Yeah, that's really bad, that one. But yeah, that's one of those things. It's like it vaguely.
Yeah.
And
Looks like
so part of that conspiracy, I think, is that some of those runways aren't even in use. They're actually like
extra.
there's like extra runways
that
that
have
are
never
used for
been
anything.
used.
So people
Just
say they
to-
built them so it would look.
Just to have the symbolism.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then I saw the 5 buildings, the map of the 5 buildings that are underground.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
haven't seen that.
It looks interesting.
So it's
Well, and then part of the website that I was on, I think it was the Chive. It was one of the Chive things, or the Onion or whatever.
Yeah.
The,
not the onion.
I don't know the cabbage. I have no idea.
the
radish.
the Cabbage Patch conspiracies.
But it said that coincidentally, when the asteroid almost struck us, and that it was really close, that Obama was in Colorado during that time. It was near that airport, like as a quick getaway.
I want to see it. Pull up that because if it's the onion, then they obviously made it up on purpose. But
the Chive.
I'd like
No,
to
it's
see.
the Chive.
I don't know how reputable that.
I don't know.
site
And then
is.
it talks about on the ground the AUAG for gold and silver, but it's actually a deadly strain of hepatitis known as Australia antigen, also called AUAG, which has been rumored to be a potent weapon in biological warfare. So I mean, but here's what I had to say about this. I think if you're wanting to find something, you'll find it. Period.
Yeah.
Do I believe in some conspiracies? Yeah, I believe in some conspiracies. Do I even believe in most? No. Do I entertain them? Yeah, for a moment. It's interesting. At the very least, it's
It's
conversational.
a conversation piece.
But am I like hardcore? Like, no, this is exactly how it happened. No, because just like we said earlier, I need proof. I need to know. I need to have facts, and not facts that
Because by that
is
addition, we could just go
said.
around questioning everything,
Right,
And we can
absolutely.
just say it's all a conspiracy, and
Yeah.
my house wasn't actually constructed out of wood. It's all a lie to get
Paper
extra
mache.
money out of me.
Yeah,
and
no,
if you were
no.
to lean against the wall, it would fall through it.
It's
Right.
made out of Swiss cheese. What are you talking about?
The moon is made out of Swiss cheese.
Yes. No, the man on the moon.
Like reading through some of
eats
these,
Swiss
reading through
cheese.
some of these top conspiracies, like
Do it.
the Beatles, that Paul McCartney
Oh,
was
yeah, Paul's
actually
dead.
died. Yeah.
Him
died a
barefoot
long
on
time
Abbey
ago.
Road, and then you play that song backwards. Was
Mhm.
it Strawberry Fields or whatever? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it's
Somebody
one of
else
those.
Vaccines are a conspiracy.
Mhm.
The government, the CIA, or the government created the AIDS virus.
Dude, wag the dog. They did a movie.
Katrina didn't happen.
Oh no! Oh, here you go. Here you go.
Mars.
No,
I like
Katrina
that.
did happen. Katrina did happen.
The Holocaust is a conspiracy that these
Oh,
people
That's
didn't
that's
suffer.
Mel
and
Gibson, dude.
That's
You don't mess with
That's unbelievable.
Martin
Okay,
Riggs.
going back to Katrina, and
Unbelievable.
maybe this is a hot button issue, but look up HAARP. HAARP.
Oh, yeah, up in Alaska.
High aural
Audio ripped butthole.
resonance.
Penis.
Resonance.
the Sandy Hook shootings is considered a conspiracy.
Oh,
Some
that's a
people
whole-
say that didn't happen at all. That it was
And the guy that laughs at the press conference. Oh, somebody or a friend of ours showed us that. That's weird.
Wow.
The guy who's one of the guys that's like the father of one of
that
the...
it was professional actors
yeah,
doing the interviews.
and they show him before... he's supposed to give the press conference. I got to credit my friend Mike because he's the one that showed us this one night. And he's like, check it out. Isn't this weird? And I won't say I buy into any part of that conspiracy, but
Yeah.
it's weird. The guy comes up and one of the dads is going to give a press conference. And they're filming. It's like footage of them filming him before he goes live. And it's real. And you see him, and he's talking, and he's laughing. He's like, ha, 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 blah, blah. And they're like, now come live. And he's like, ah. Like, within
that's
half a
weird.
second, he starts crying like he's, like, all broken up. And, like, a second before, he's laughing and talking to somebody.
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you
weird.
could, people deal with grief in different ways.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, it's like, that's sometimes how you can diffuse. Even, I'm not even saying conspiracies are real. I'm saying you can diffuse conversation is that you make it sensitive. You're like, oh, you're an asshole for even talking about that.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
a kid, man. He's a dad.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
okay,
all
like,
it's our whole anything that has happened and when somebody has died, it's horrible. Yes, we get it.
Yes.
If I were one of the parents, God forbid, knock on wood, all of that, yeah, I would be upset. But I understand humanity. I understand that people are going to want to question why this kind of stuff happens, and they're going to come up with their own conclusions, apart from what I think or believe or feel, or apart from what everybody else does, or whatever. But they have a right to think it. They have a right to feel it. They have a right to voice it. If it bothers me, turn it off.
Yeah.
But for somebody to be like, "No, you're being an asshole."
Yeah.
No, you know what?
Well,
that's we're talking. We're humans. We have the capability of speech. Use it. And if you don't want to, you have the capability of not listening and walking away.
Like this right here. We're giving our opinion, and some of it's silly,
and if
some of
anybody
it's
gets
offensive,
upset
but-
about whatever episode we've ever done, if you get upset, turn it off.
Yeah. That's
give
how
us your
you-
feedback if you want. That's fine. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate if you say, I really like the show and I don't want to hear this episode because of this. That's fine.
Yeah, there's
Cool.
an
We don't care.
undownload button. We invented that.
Yeah.
You can undownload it. You get your gigs back.
Patrick Ewing being drafted in the NBA is one
The
of the
frozen-
top
the frozen
25.
letter?
You know about this?
I only know about that because of the conspiracy. Are you on
That's-
Wikipedia?
That's crazy.
It's a
No,
good
it's
one.
just some random site.
That's a really big one. That is always comes up on the top conspiracies. The frozen lottery letter
and
bullshit.
why that's hilarious? Patrick Ewing and the Knicks never won a title, so
It doesn't
Good
matter.
job,
To what
guys.
end?
And if the NBA was full of conspiracies, it's all about big markets meant
Mm-hmm.
to survive. Why have we won 5?
Oh, this is
Not
gonna drive me
1,
nuts.
not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 titles.
Whoop. Okay, so this is going to drive me nuts.
What's up? Conspiracy, small market won.
You had brought something up a minute ago as one of the conspiracies, and I forgot what it was, and it's going to drive me nuts until you go back through it again.
Water fluoridation, digital
Vaccines.
television, vaccines, the government creating the
Chemtrails.
AIDS virus, the chess game of Kasparov, Coca-Cola,
Oh, and he played the machine, right?
Uh-huh.
Big Blue or whatever.
psychiatry, Katrina.
Oh,
Mars.
Katrina. Oh, yes. Going back to Katrina.
Oh, yeah.
So Katrina, the whole conspiracy behind that. This is going to be our giant-sized conspiracy episode, and this is also a
Sponsored
huge,
by Snickers. Feed your hunger.
This is also kind of an apology for us being absent for so long. We appreciate you guys sticking in.
That's why
with
we're
us.
giving you a 4-hour episode about conspiracies because you really want to hear that.
So
That's what you get.
okay, so
Yeah.
Katrina, harp. Okay, so this.
It's a conspiracy that Mario doesn't actually like the Spurs, and that's why he destroyed the audio evidence.
It's a conspiracy
Oh,
that every single night that there was going to be an NBA Western Conference Finals
I
game
don't keep
or
up.
an
I don't
NBA
know.
Finals game, Mario would text me, "Hey, let's do the podcast tonight. Hey, are y'all busy?" Neither one of these two guys give a crap or watch or care about the San Antonio Spurs.
What's
But, essay pop music and essay this and essay that. These guys are part of the problem right here, and it drives me crazy.
It
but
does.
what can I do? I'm an audience.
You're doing your part for San Antonio. You are. You're holding
Great,
the
we
fort
appreciate
down.
it. Great. I
We
have
wanted to
loyalty to
give
my
that-
city
we
where
wanted
you
to give
guys
voice to
don't.
that.
Long ago, I made a rule that I would never cheer for inanimate objects.
I just cheer for Houston. It's not even my city.
Inanimate objects.
My dog is dressed in
Spur,
Texans
it's-
gear.
Okay, so harp. Let's try to get
that
back
was a
on track.
tangent. That was
Okay,
an
that was a
evil,
tangent.
angry, sensitive topic.
It was. That's all right. I was just wanting to give that episode voice again. I wanted it to have the opportunity to come back to life. We had recorded an episode just because I completely believe in being transparent.
They
We
can't
had
see you.
Go ahead.
We had actually recorded with my uncle as a guest over Skype, and I use Skype loosely because it wasn't Skype. I think it was like Google Hangouts or whatever. And we had recorded an entire hour-long episode dedicated to the Spurs over the last 14 years. Not specifically talking about the finals, just talking about all this other stuff, which is a teaser because we'll eventually get to that later.
Right.
We recorded it. I was really excited about it. It was a great episode. Thanks, Uncle Bob. Thanks, guys.
Technical
Get home.
difficulties.
Get home, listen to the audio. This is Mike, this is Rick, this is Mario, and our special guest. And it's a Guy Think podcast. Let's get it on. I'm like, oh, shit. none of Uncle Bob's audio came through.
So
None
what we're
of it.
going to do is we're going to put the podcast up anyway, and call it like an episode X.
The missing
and what we want you to
episode.
do is we want you to fill the gap with your thoughts.
God.
Yeah.
And then
There's
when we cut
so
back
much
in,
dead air.
you'll be able
There would
to.
be so much dead air.
But yeah, I mean, try it out. Take it home to yourself. We want you to
like
record
Mad
your-
Libs.
Maybe-
we want,
maybe
we want
we
you to
will. We'll
record.
really- that would
we
be
want you to
awesome.
record yourself into the gaps and send it back to us, and we'll re-upload the best episode
That
of
would
who
be
joined
awesome.
us as our guest.
But we will also redo the episode eventually.
Yes.
I think we're all tired of it though, and we're all so upset that it like never came together so many different times because we've got lives and it's
I'm
tough.
tired of my friends trying to record episodes during finals games that are about the most important
Go
thing.
Spurs, go.
Anyway,
Oh, God.
so Harp.
Wow.
No,
So going back-
no.
Cut your throat open.
No, I was gonna tell you. I didn't even get to. I haven't seen you, so I get to use this funny joke. So like during the thing and everything, that's fine. I'm happy. You know, I don't hate the Spurs. I just not a basketball fan.
You know what? I'm going to go out of my way to
I'm
piss
sorry.
on your stupid Texans and your stupid football. Because you know what? I'm gonna start hammering you with Manziel and Money Manziel
Who's Manziel?
and the Cowboys, and Jerry Jones is the best owner on purpose. And because that's it, man. Your lack of loyalty to your own city and our one sport town is absolutely unforgivable.
It is.
It's unforgivable.
Horrible. It's It's a conspiracy, actually. There's a
But
reason.
he does support Girl in Coma. He's
You,
gone to
you,
concerts
I
with
can
me.
understand because you are Rudy Rudiger. You have no athletic bones in your body. You're
Yeah,
5
he's
foot nothing,
unloading.
100 nothing.
Wow.
But you, Mr. Sportsman, Mr.
said I just got
prom,
tore.
prom
He did.
king.
Wow.
Mr.
Apparently
Prom
I'm
King
short
sports
and
athlete.
wide.
all conspiracies.
We had to tell you to wear
All myths.
underwear to play flag
All
football
myths,
with
folks.
us. Free baller. So
Well, I wasn't aware
this
of
is
the
payback for
dangers.
anti-Spur love during the most important run of our dynasty. And we will take care of the Spurs episode, and I'll do it myself with Uncle Bob if I have to. We'll get there. We will get there, San Antonio.
to get there.
Me and you and these guys will have to just tolerate us.
You didn't get to. You cut off my Spurs joke though. It's not even a joke. It's not me making fun of them. It was just it'd been cute. It'd been cute.
It would have been, but
So, like-
Harp.
No, wait, real quick. Let me get it in there, man. Because I only told it to like
That's what she
Carolyn,
said.
and she didn't even think
Oh,
it was that
that's what he
funny.
said.
No one will, but I thought
Nobody's
going
to think this is funny. We're going to preempt
No.
that.
It
This
was
is not
just
a funny
just
joke.
a missed opportunity. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
There's no punchline. I'm not telling you it's funny. I'm not telling you it's a joke. It was a missed opportunity that we were driving. You know,
So
everywhere
wait,
you,
but at the end of the day, I still have to go to work
no,
tomorrow.
every day, every sign you saw said "Go Spurs, go!" Awesome. I'm happy for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's good stuff. I heard it a zillion times. I can't wait to hear it more. I hope I hear it next year all over again for eternity. It's good. It's good stuff. But but wait, so we're crossing over on like Nakoma, right? And there's a big megaplex right there. And on
the
their
adult
side,
video megaplex.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
for those
Don't-
non-Santonians, the
Right.
adult video
right.
megaplex.
It's like one of those stores that sells pornography.
right by the airport.
Yeah. And they have the sign up, and they always have like stuff like blah blah blah, the Liberator half off or whatever it is, whatever that is. I think it's anyways, and so it said "Go Spurs, go," and I was like, dude, like that's great. Even the pornographers are cheering on the Spurs, but I'm like, why didn't they put "Go, Squirts"?
Oh.
Go Squirts, go. God damn it! You just cut in on my fucking joke.
See, why don't you give him some problems too?
Sorry.
Oh, they're sorry, folks.
I thought we were going to say that.
Sorry,
you-
folks.
in
No, squirts.
Sperms.
Go
The same
squirts,
thing.
go. Anyways.
So, Harp.
So Harp, let's get back to Harp. Mike, are you done?
Oh, that's real cool.
Are you down with the Harp?
No, let's get his.
No, go ahead. Let's.
No, I'm enjoying his tirade
real
against
cool.
us.
Oh,
Go
I,
ahead.
I,
Because
go
the
ahead.
more I thought about it, I haven't listened to the Spurs
Oh, I
episode
like
that
this.
failed, but the more I really thought about it, it actually did
was
piss
awesome.
me off. Every single time I had to keep telling y'all that there was a freaking game. I'm like, don't you look at a goddamn
No.
schedule? You know,
I don't
you
even have regular
You have the
TV.
temerity to ask me, hey, let's do the podcast tonight. Get on freaking internet or one of your
Get on the
8,000
internet.
one of your internet sites or one of your 50,000 domains you own, and look up when the Spurs play. Care about your city for once.
You know, it's funny. We actually get to dress down at work when the Spurs are in
And
the
you wear a
playoffs.
Spurs shirt, right?
And I wear a Spurs shirt to dress down, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, one day I dressed down, and they were like, we won. We don't have a game tonight. I'm like, shit. So I had to drive home and change
So
and go back to work.
with all your vitriol and your anger right now, is in this scenario, Mario wearing dress down, go Spurs, go shirt to work, is that within the realm of okayness for you? Even though you're already angry because he tried to keep you from watching the games by recording a podcast that he had erased.
By not doing one simple test on if the audio works or
But
not.
that's what I'm asking. This is what I was getting to earlier
It
that
sounded
we
come
glossed
out.
over. We
Sounded
glossed
good.
over. Is Mario wearing a Spurs jersey or shirt.
Shirt.
or his camouflage Adidas
It
Tony
just
Parker
says
jersey?
suit up. It doesn't
Whatever
even
it
have.
was.
It just says suit up.
So wherever it was, does that offend you? Does that make you upset? Or is it okay because he's supporting them even though he's actively trying to keep you from watching them
I wasn't actively
win their
trying
fifth
to.
consecutive win their fifth unprecedented trophy?
You guys are an embarrassment to the city, and the fact that we talk about San Antonio
Two
so
channels.
much
I'm waiting for you to
is why
answer
this
my
is so
question.
sad.
Answer
because
my question.
If we just kept it anonymous and a general thing,
Hey, I
it
support.
wouldn't-
I support the San Antonio Gaelic Athletic.
And the Talons and the
Camp?
Rampage the camp.
What is it? Coalition.
and the Roadrunners,
the garlic camp.
and the Scorpions.
Yeah.
What is it?
But that's the thing. That's the thing is that you can't get too testy because there's 10 other fucking professional teams in this town that people don't give the same respect to because why? They haven't been around as long. They're not as successful.
Club.
They're not.
It's club.
No. I'm talking about like the Talons and the
SAGAC. It's club.
Oh yes, the
I
Scorpions.
missed when the Talons were on ESPN or TNT or what channel were they being aired on? What professional channel did I miss out on?
What does
on
that have to do with
I'm just asking.
supporting them? That's what we're
No,
talking
I
about.
support them. I
just
hope
have
they do
Netflix
well.
and Hulu.
That's
I love
not
them.
the same thing.
Why?
You're being sarcastic. That's
Well,
why.
I'm trying to understand how that you're talking about now. Anything that people pay
No,
$5
you said-
to is professional.
You said you guys aren't supporting San Antonio because you don't support.
Pardon us for our technical
Because
difficulties.
you don't support the Spurs. That's what you said. Maybe you were
Go
kidding.
Spurs, go.
I doubt it.
I'm glad they won. I don't watch, but I enjoy the dynasty of the Spurs, and I hope that they come back next year and they kill it again. And I hope they get some
Now
good
you're
players.
jinxing it.
and-
Now you're jinxing it.
Knock
with
on
your-
wood.
with
I'm
your-
knocking on wood. And
There's no such thing as jinx.
Well, that's a good.
That's a conspiracy.
The only jinx I know is the GI Joe.
Now I need to
character.
watch Conspiracy Theory with Nicole Kidman and George Clooney. Because that sounds like a cool movie.
I
You
saw
think
that
you
movie,
mean
but I don't think that
that's
was
the Peacemaker?
That's
Peacemaker?
Peacemaker.
You're thinking of Julia Roberts and Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
That's
sad. There's like
conspiracy.
interchangeable parts right there. Wow, that's really sad.
One's about
Oh, man.
conspiracies.
I'm gonna go ahead
one's
and not
about-
watch either.
One's about Russian nukes or something.
I'm going to watch neither then.
One of them is good.
So harp.
What was your question that I didn't
I
answer,
don't know.
by the way?
we just went on a 40-minute.
No,
Sound
no,
like
it's not
Skip
that bad.
Bayless for
We're
20
at an hour and a
It's
half.
fine that Mario wore that shirt to answer your question
That
because
was the
he's still
question.
propagating a good thing for the people that
Thank
do
you.
care.
I appreciate that.
I don't know. I have a feeling that if I wore a Spurs shirt, it wouldn't be the same thing. People go, "Oh, why are you wearing a Spurs shirt? You don't watch basketball. You're not a real fan."
Well, yeah, but you
You've
know what I
never
had to deal
watched
with?
blah, blah, blah."
You know what I had to
Like,
deal with? Walking around after work, being in the Spurs shirt, and people being like, "Yeah, you gonna watch the show tonight?" I'm like, "I don't have TV." They're like, "Dude, you can go to a friend's house and watch it." I'm like, "I don't want to." They're like, "Why not?" I'm like,
But that's the thing.
"I wore,"
where,
and
like,
I'm honest with them.
but
I'm
that's
like,
the
"I
thing,
wore
like-
this so I could
like
dress
from
down."
someone
and they're like,
like Mike, and I respect
sorry.
basketball because I respect Mike's opinion
Yeah,
more than I
no.
respect the sport of basketball. Right?
I respect
So
both.
I'm not saying I don't respect it. I'm saying that's what gives it more weight because I know someone who's passionate. I know someone who can describe it to me and explain the nuances of it or attempt to explain it to me, and I can appreciate that. Right?
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. That's okay, and I can respect that. I'm not talking about like I'm not gonna say I don't respect other people, but it's the same thing. If someone's like, "Dude, you watch the game last night? Why didn't you watch it, man? It was awesome." Blah blah. And I'm like, "Did you watch the 56 other fucking games before that?" "Oh well, no, man." Then it doesn't fucking matter. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
fucking matter. Like I don't fucking care. That's the kind of thing that, and it's not Mike's passion that frustrates me or makes me
No, it's the
irritated.
bandwagoners.
It's that. No, it's not even bandwagon. It's just anything like that, right? It's like if like I don't know how many people go to like college games around here.
Is it just the general assumption that upsets you?
What?
No, but he lets some. He's the classic case of one rotten apple spoils the bunch because he's like, I'm not going to watch Scarface because all these people have co-opted it in their culture and have posters on their rooms and
And
they think
shirts.
it's cool. And
Okay, I gotta be
all these
honest, I was
stupid-
like-
all these
And
murals and stuff like that.
So, and I'm the other way. I was like, I have to see this movie because apparently it's the greatest thing, and I fell asleep during the fence scene. I don't know, like the first 10 minutes. I'm
Oh
like,
my god!
I was out.
I just didn't like it because I didn't think it was true to the original. I'm still waiting for
1932.
I'm still waiting for them to do a remake of a remake with 50 Cent.
They just need a reboot. every movie ever made.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be another episode.
hopefully
We talk about
J.J.
reboots that should have
Abrams.
happened.
What? I think we said J.J. Abrams at the
You
same
guys
time.
did.
Yeah.
You guys are sword fighting.
can
at the
agree on
table.
one thing.
I was going to say Christopher Nolan. Then.
Yeah.
So anyway, so getting back to HARP.
This episode has been one big conspiracy.
It has been. We're at 134. We're at an hour and 34 minutes. So we'll go just a little while longer to keep you guys bored for a little
An
bit
hour
longer.
and 39.
Yeah. So for those of you who listen to us while you fall asleep,
Yeah, it's on a sleep timer.
while I fall asleep as I'm talking.
When someone's on the treadmill right now, we're pushing them on, so they're gonna be like, "I'm not getting off this treadmill. I want to hear where this stupid fucking show goes."
No, we could actually
Like,
be like
let's
a
fucking
doctor's
HARP.
prescription for like people that have sleep insomnia. Like,
Or like,
I listen to
this-
podcasts when I go to sleep.
Listen
like,
to this podcast.
listen to these guys and feel smart.
I put it on
Feel
a
good about
15-minute
yourself,
timer
and-
because I don't want to actually miss the episode, but I want to listen to enough of it where I knock out, and it works.
You do that?
Yeah.
You fall asleep to my voice.
No, not to your
No,
voice.
that's
to mine.
to my ours.
No, Neil deGrasse
us
Tyson. I
talking
fall
together.
asleep to fall asleep to Star Talk Radio.
To what?
Star Talk Radio with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, of course. What was I thinking?
Audible.com.
Hey,
I'm not making fun of you. I'm
210
making fun.
local media.
Yeah, and so does he. Homeboy's like got a
Is
job
sponsored
and
by
like
Audible.com.
makes a lot of money. He's still
He does.
shilling
And he's-
free audiobooks. You
Yeah.
have an excuse. You're working your
I'm
way
trying
up,
to get.
man.
I'm trying to. Yeah.
You're
okay,
fighting
so
your way.
HARP. As I've said it for like
The conspiracy
500th
against HARP.
time. No, it's not against HARP.
Mike
so,
works for HARP.
What is
so
HARP? The beer?
HARP is it's what is it? High oral.
HARP beer. Let me look it up.
No, it's not the
Oral-
beer.
Oh.
Angle.
I thought it was oral.
Anal.
Oral.
If you can't
HAARP.
describe the acronym, you shouldn't be talking about it as a...
I know, right? High frequency active
altitude.
oral research program.
There you go.
Basically,
There's an F in there.
no. Frequent. Yeah, there is. A fart.
Farp. It's not as menacing. A farp.
A farp. Yeah. Yeah, that's really
I'm
weird.
sorry,
I never
folks.
thought about that. Okay, so
I'm retiring after this.
it's an ionospheric research program by the Air Force, the Navy, and some other groups. Anyway, the big conspiracy about it is that it can control the weather, which the other conspiracy about that is that the Chinese have been doing it since the 70s.
Or that Cobra's been doing it since the 80s.
You know,
Exactly.
Krang had a weather controller too, and he made it snow, and then the turtles came out, and it was a big trap to get them exposed.
They came out of their shells.
Wu-Tang Krang. You haven't seen that shirt?
That was.
The
Oh, man, I thought
W?
you made it up. That was good. I was about to
No.
give you props.
Oh.
Never mind. I
Guess
saw
I
it.
lost the props, whatever. So anyway, so the idea is that,
That was funny,
they use this ionospheric device to superheat the water in front of a tornado or tropical storm,
Mm-hmm.
which increases its power because of the temperature of the water, and then they use it to direct it through the water, through the ocean, and become bigger. So if you actually look at the maps before it hit New Orleans, it looks like it's dissipating and turning around and going away, and then it gets stronger and then heads right back and slams right into New Orleans. Interesting theory.
That's pretty.
So somebody found Serpentor's broadcast energy transmitter and put it to use.
So think about it this way: if the whole New World Order idea is to get rid of what's the percentage of the population that they want to get rid of?
It's a big percentage.
It's a huge percentage, right? So where would they start? And
Ooh.
I'm not saying it like that. I'm just saying it from the conspiracy theories.
Where there's poor people,
exactly,
right? Poor people.
and that's what happened.
Because we need more parking lots?
No, just because it just
Put up a parking lot.
I just want to know why. Again, why?
Well, that's
Tell
a
me
good
why.
question. That's a good. I don't know.
Oh,
I mean,
wait.
to fill out the New World Order idea. I
Oh,
don't
that's fascinating. That's great. That's great.
He just hates
know.
conspiracies.
Wow, he's just
man.
evolved into
He's just
being
angry.
mean. He's
He's
just
a-
all
he's a-
over angry.
he's a-
He's tired
I'm-
and he's mad.
No, I'm not. I just want to know why. Like, tell me why it matters.
Well, that's the thing is that it doesn't.
It won't matter until it happens to you, and then it'll matter.
Right,
And then
and
by
then
then
it'll
it'll be too late.
But
You'll be like,
like-
why didn't I listen to Mario when he was talking about harp? And then I went to Port Aransas and I got sucked up by a super tornado and it tore apart my limbs. And now there's a movie called Mike NATO. And it's about people that
say
get murdered
Sharknado.
with my flying toenails.
Would you call Lone Survivor the worst movie title of a movie ever?
Ooh, I like that movie.
I mean, because doesn't that kind of give away the
It's
whole
kind of,
point?
yeah, but I think because it was something that was out there. and
Castaway
it was-
gave away. Gosh, we kind of gave that away.
I thought he was going to deliver that FedEx delivery. And then where was it going to end?
He ended up delivering it.
That's lame.
And then
And he got a date
that?
after that,
He
too.
possibly got,
He was in Texas at the
Possibly
end,
hooked
right?
up.
Or is that where his ex-wife was?
That's where his ex-wife was.
All his exes.
Live in Texas.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that the current in the
San
ocean...
Antonio current?
Can be affected.
Oh, okay.
The Gulf Stream.
Temperature.
So you're saying...
Not the Gulf Stream
So
necessarily,
you're saying
just the temperatures.
people arrange the weather to knock out poor people so that they could advance their desires to rule the world?
Well, that's the thing, is that during that time, the conspiracy theorists were like, and then after, nothing really happened much after that. But then you combine that with, the government knew that the levees were bad and that they needed to put money into doing it, and then they didn't, and then this is what happened because of it.
Or that they put demolitions on the levees and intentionally blew them.
You know, I find it funny
Which is
that
what a lot of people say.
I find it funny that Optimus Prime
Interesting.
says
I didn't know
that
that.
that the Autobots and Decepticons were a peaceful race and that they used to all live in peace. If they were called the Decepticons right from the beginning, wouldn't that have been your first problem?
They were. Yeah.
That should have been a clue. Decept. What does that sound like?
Like, imagine meeting this
Deceptive.
cool guy. Hey, I'd like to introduce you to this
But they
general.
weren't-
He's a great military strategist. His name's General Grievous. Real nice guy, though.
Yeah.
Deceptive
I promise.
cons. Deceptive cons, right?
Decepticons.
Deceptive cons.
Deceptiprons.
I've heard Decepticons,
Beast
too.
Wars. Deceptiprons
Just because I
and
mentioned New Orleans doesn't mean
the
you need to
Autobats.
see
Deceptive-
food.
the
Deceptiprons.
Autobats.
Deceptiprons.
Hey, you know what? Acme.
Pepe is a
Seafood?
Deceptipron.
So you guys are now listening to our just devolved conversation.
Deceptiprons.
And if you're still with us, Mario's going to send you a free shirt. Just send him an email and let him know
He
you
has a lot of
bought-
Spurs shirts he doesn't care about.
I'll break into to Rick's house and
Yeah.
get you a shirt.
Yeah, it'll be a little stinky. Armpits will be stained, but you'll get a free shirt. You
Most
just
of
have
them
to-
will say SAGAC, which we've now recalled as club.
Oh.
San Antonio Gaelic Athletic Club.
Professional San Antonio Sports League.
We weren't even referring to that.
Professional.
That's not even what we were referring to.
They have a big Wikipedia page,
We were
too.
not referring to that. We were discussing the actual professional
Mike is now
teams.
leaving the room.
Mike left the room. He's gone.
Mike's done.
He's going to go watch
I
JFK.
think we might be done, too.
again.
We're at an hour 40, so...
Why stop here? Why don't we just do the very first ever 5-hour episode?
Oh,
on
God, no. I
conspiracies?
work at 7 a.m.
the
tomorrow.
Jerry Lewis podcast.
So we could jump into another topic and either make it a separate episode or make it a giant-sized episode. What do you guys want to do?
I think let's wrap it up. It's
Let's wrap it.
bedtime. All these people listening right now, we're in their ears and their iPod. They listen to us instead of Delilah.
And
So
now I think
it's-
it's a favor we should listen to them. And they're telling us, stop.
So that was the conspiracy episode. Did you stop it already? Did you cut
No,
me
no,
off?
we're still going.
Okay,
I
yeah.
I want to get into a habit of closing it out by doing our contact information, even though none of it matters because
Right.
nobody reaches out to us.
Good.
Although a big shout out to
Don't shout out because last time we shouted someone out. They never
we
listened to us
we
again.
shouted out to Cutter.
They were just using this as a bounce for their freaking signal
messed
that
up.
They were probably just torrenting
yeah
sites. So could
they were
get-
using our web page as their
We had some mysterious traffic from Cutter, for those who think it maybe Qatar, but it's Cutter, and we did a shout out to them. And
it's not called Cutter Center.
And then now we don't
Guitar Center.
guitars. That was a good one. Props, man. Props. And then suddenly nobody listened from Cutter. So, but I do.
It's
want.
probably someone on
No,
the
no,
knock
look,
list,
we
man.
got
You
some- we
fucking
got some-
gave away their position.
We got some feedback that I wanted to
Someone probably
give a
droned
shout
them.
out to.
Oh, yeah.
Tim O'Sullivan, who is actually also part of the San Antonio Gaelic Athletic
Yes,
Club.
but not that it made him.
Not that
wanna
made any
listen.
difference. But he messaged us on Facebook and said, "I've been listening to your podcast and enjoying it very much. Well done, men."
Until this episode. And
Until
I just
episode number
tuned
10.
right out.
Yeah.
Tuned
But
right out.
I just wanted to give that shout
Thanks.
out and then remind everybody that we do have a Google voicemail, 210-802-1197. Again, 210-802-1197 if you want to talk to us.
Or the donkey lady.
Or the donkey. Ooh, that's cryptozoology, my friend. We'll get into some of that later, but you can definitely give us a call, give us your feedback. If you want, we can play your audio on air. You can find us on www.itsaguythingpodcast.com/contact us. You can find us on Twitter. Twatter. You can twat us
My goodness. Wow.
at It's a Guy Thing Pod on Facebook / It's a Guy Thing Podcast. And, of course, our main website, It's a Guy Thing Podcast.com, or for those lazy people like me, www.iagtpod.com. Even though, yeah, that's still kind of lengthy, isn't
Yeah,
it?
why do you say
Feels that way.
www? You don't have to say that
Nobody says that
anymore.
anymore, right? Well, I just got to be sure, because of the people that don't know about the interwebs.
Yeah.
You can use us. You can check us out on
Use
Netscape.
us.
You can check us out on Netscape.
Netscape Navigator.
We can send you a free AOL 5,000 free minutes disc.
Listen to us on or check out our words on our BBS. It's pretty exciting. It's a God thing. It's a God thing podcast.prodigy.net.
You can also
Okay.
chat with us on IRC.
And all joking aside, we are a member of the 210 Podcast Network, and we are partially brought to you by Audible.com. You can visit us at 210localmusic.com/audible to help us pay for apparently the booze and
Our
the
legal fees.
our legal fees and the Red Bull that it
Our
takes to keep
libel
us up.
lawsuits.
So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next episode whenever that episode comes out.
Check out our page on GeoCities.
In 6 months.
You can also search for us on
Angel
Lycos.
Fire. Angel Fire.
You can search for us on Lycos.
Oh, man, and for those of you still running a Commodore 64, you're out of luck. Thanks for listening, y'all.
Peace.